Hello guys, welcome to Ben 10 What Ifs. So in this video, we will see, what if Ben 10 unlocked the celestial Omnitrix and got Harem of Julie, Ester and Rook Shar. If you enjoy these kinds of stories, don't forget to show us some love by hitting the like button and subscribing to the channel. Your support means the world to us. Now, let's start the story. Blank, blank, underscore, blank. Chapter 1. Cosmic Convergence. The midnight sky above Bellwood fractured with impossible light. Shimmering ribbons of violet and azure twisted through the stars, forming patterns that defied human astronomy. Ben Tennyson stood on his apartment rooftop, head tilted back, the strange luminescence painting his face in otherworldly hues. The Omnitrix on his wrist pulsed with an answering glow, emerald light synchronizing with each celestial ripple. "That's definitely not the aurora borealis," Ben muttered, running a hand through his tousled brown hair. At 19, he'd grown taller. Broader across the shoulders, his jawline more defined, but the gleam of curiosity in his green eyes remained unchanged from the 10-year-old who'd first discovered the Omnitrix. The device suddenly sparked, sending a jolt up his arm. Ben hissed, shaking his wrist as unfamiliar symbols flashed across the Omnitrix dial. "Whoa, easy there, what's gotten into you?" His phone vibrated in his pocket. Grandpa Max's gruff voice came through the speaker before Ben even said hello. "Ben, I'm assuming you're seeing this light show. Every plumber sensor from here to the Andromeda Galaxy is going haywire." Quote, "Yeah, and the Omnitrix is acting weird too." Ben stepped back from the roof edge as another wave of light pulsed overhead. "Any idea what we're dealing with?" "Nothing conclusive yet, but we're detecting a spatial anomaly about 30 miles outside Bellwood. Coordinates are coming to your phone. Rook's off planet, so you're flying solo on initial reconnaissance." Ben grinned, already cycling through the Omnitrix. "Solo works for me, I'll check it out and report back." "Be careful, Ben. The energy signatures we're reading are unusual. Nothing in our database matches it." "When are they ever usual?" Ben laughed, finding the silhouette he wanted. "Time to go XLR8. I'll be there in minutes." The familiar green light enveloped him as his DNA rewrote itself. But something was different. The transformation energy surged, crackling with unusual intensity. Pain spiked through Ben's changing form, his vision whiting out as the Omnitrix seemed to draw power from the anomaly overhead. When the light faded, Ben stood transformed, but not as XLR8. His body gleamed with a metallic blue-black exoskeleton, star-like points of light dotting his form like constellations. Energy coursed through translucent pathways beneath the armor, pulsing in rhythm with his accelerated heartbeat. "What the?" His voice resonated with harmonic undertones, as if multiple voices spoke in perfect synchronization. Looking down at his transformed body, Ben flexed unfamiliar limbs. "This isn't XLR8. I've never seen this alien before." He felt different, lighter, yet somehow connected to everything around him. The cosmic display overhead no longer seemed alien but familiar, like a language he suddenly understood. When he moved, afterimages of starlight trailed his limbs. Ben took a tentative step and found himself 20 feet away. Another step launched him clear across the rooftop. "Whoa, okay, so still got the speed thing down. But what else can you do, new guy?" Experimentally, he raised a hand toward a small satellite dish. Instinctively, he felt the gravitational field around it, and with a slight mental push, the dish detached and floated toward him. Gravitational manipulation. Nice. Ben's voice reverberated with excitement. He released the dish gently back to its mount. "I think I'll call you Celestigrade." His phone buzzed again. Somehow, he answered it without touching it, the device floating up to his star-flecked face. "Ben, your Omnitrix signal just changed drastically. Are you all right?" Max's concern was evident even through the static interference. "Better than all right, Grandpa. I've got a new alien. Something's upgraded the Omnitrix. I think it's connected to that anomaly. I'm heading there now." "Wait, Ben." But Celestigrade was already moving, leaping from the rooftop and accelerating through Bellwood's streets faster than human eyes could track. The world blurred around him as celestial energy propelled him forward, leaving trails of cosmic light in his wake. Julie Yamamoto placed her tennis trophy carefully on the shelf beside the others, stepping back to admire the collection. The International Youth Championship Gold GL, aimed under her bedroom lights, the culmination of 2 years of intensive training abroad. What do you think, Ship? She asked the small, blob-like mechanical alien curled on her bed. Worth missing senior prom for. Ship. The creature chirped enthusiastically, bouncing on the comforter. Julie smiled, running a hand through her short black hair, now styled in an undercut that framed her face. Differently than when she'd left Bellwood. At 19, her features had matured, but her warm brown eyes still held the same determination and compassion. I should probably unpack, she said, eyeing the suitcases stacked by the door. But honestly, I'd rather go for a drive, see how much the town's changed. You up for it? Ship responded by flowing off the bed and transforming into a sleek motorcycle, engine purring expectantly. Car mode might be less conspicuous, Julie suggested with a laugh. Ship morphed again, becoming a compact sports car that somehow fit in the bedroom. Perfect. Julie grabbed her jacket. Let's go see if. The room suddenly flooded with unearthly light. Julie rushed to the window, throwing it open as the night sky transformed into a tapestry of cosmic energy. Ship made an alarmed sound, returning to his blob form and leaping onto her shoulder. What is that? Julie whispered, watching the ribbons of light twist and spiral above Bellwood. The display wasn't just beautiful, it raised the hairs on her arms, a visceral reminder of the universe's vastness and mystery. Ship trembled against her neck, his mechanical body resonating with the strange energy. You feel it too, huh? Julie stroked the alien reassuringly. $10 says Ben's already involved somehow. Reaching for her phone, Julie hesitated, her finger hovering over Ben's contact. Their parting, 2 years ago, had been amicable but awkward, mutual agreement that her tennis career and his plumber responsibilities pulled them in different directions. They'd promised to stay friends, exchanged occasional texts. But the distance had grown. Before she could decide, a streak of cosmic light flashed through the streets below her window, a blur of motion trailing what looked like miniature stars. Definitely Ben, Julie murmured, a smile tugging at her lips. New alien, Ship chirped questioningly. You're right, we should check it out. Julie's voice held a decisiveness that had strengthened during her time away. He might need backup. Ship transformed into a sleek armor that enveloped Julie's body, the black and green material conforming perfectly to her athletic frame. The upgrades they developed together during her travels activated automatically, reinforced joints, enhanced sensory input, propulsion system. Let's follow him, Julie said, leaping from her second-story window with the confidence of someone who'd done this many times before. Ship's armor absorbed the impact as she landed in a perfect crouch on the lawn below. Tracking the fading trail of cosmic energy, Julie SP rented through familiar streets that now felt strangely new, Ship's systems boosting her speed far beyond human capability. Something inside her sparked with excitement that had nothing to do with the anomaly in the sky. She was back in Bellwood. Back where everything began. 30 miles outside town, Ben arrived at the coordinates in minutes, centigrade speed turning the journey into a blur. He skidded to a halt at the edge of Lake Bellwood, where the water's surface rippled with unnatural energy, reflecting the cosmic display overhead. In the center of the lake, a perfect circle of water rose upward, defying gravity to form a liquid pillar 20 feet high. Within this column, something glowed with intense white light. Okay, that's new, Ben murmured, his harmonic voice carrying across the water. He started forward, only to freeze as the Omnitrix symbol on his chest flashed red. The transformation reversed unexpectedly, cosmic energy dissipating as Ben returned to human form. Hey, I wasn't done yet, Ben protested, slapping the Omnitrix. The device remained unresponsive, its display showing unfamiliar symbols scrolling too rapidly to read. Great timing as always. The water column pulsed, sending concentric ripples across the lake. Ben grabbed his phone, activating its camera to record the phenomenon for plumber analysis. Grandpa, you seeing this? Ben asked, transmitting the live feed. The water's moving like it's being controlled, but I'm not picking up any tech signatures or obvious alien presence. Static answered him. Ben checked his phone. No signal, despite full bars showing. Whatever this anomaly was, it interfered with communications. Always a good sign, Ben muttered sarcastically, pocketing the useless device. The column of water suddenly collapsed. sending a massive wave across the lake. Ben barely had time to brace himself before the surge hit the shore, soaking him to the skin. Perfect, he grumbled, wiping water from his eyes. Just perfect. His complaint died as the Omnitrix sparked violently, emerald electricity crackling up his arm. Ben gasped, dropping to one knee as the device began to change, its metal surface flowing like liquid, reconfiguring into a more streamlined shape. The familiar green glow shifted, incorporating threads of cosmic purple and deep blue. When the transformation finished, the Omnitrix looked fundamentally different, sleeker, with a dial displaying constellations instead of alien silhouettes. The metal had a strange iridescence, seeming to contain depths beyond its physical dimensions. "What did you do to yourself?" Ben whispered, staring at the transformed device. The new Omnitrix pulsed once, projecting a holographic star map above Ben's wrist. Constellations he didn't recognize rotated slowly, using finally on one particular formation that glowed brighter than the others. "The Celestial Omnitrix," a familiar voice announced behind him. Ben whirled to find Professor Paradox standing calmly at the lake's edge, his ageless face contemplative as he studied Ben's wrist. The time traveler's Victorian attire was immaculate despite the now muddy shoreline. "Professor, your timing is as weird as ever." Ben straightened, holding up his transformed device. "You know what's happened to the Omnitrix?" "Indeed I do," Paradox replied, his British accent precise and measured. "Though perhaps the better question is what's happening to the universe. The Celestial Omnitrix is both symptom and potential solution." "Celestial Omnitrix," Ben repeated, looking down at the cosmic display. "That's what Celestigrade called himself." "Ah, you've already accessed one of the new transformations. Fascinating." Paradox checked his pocket watch, frowning slightly. "Ahead of schedule, which is rarely a good sign." "New transformations? You mean there are more like Celestigrade?" "The Celestial Omnitrix grants access to a unique category of transformations based on cosmic phenomena rather than species DNA. Celestial aliens, if you will." Paradox gestured to the sky, where the light show continued. "They appear only during cosmic convergences, rare alignments when dimensional barriers thin." Ben looked from the Omnitrix to the anomaly in the lake, pieces clicking together. "So that light in the water, a fragment of cosmic essence." Paradox nodded. It recognized the Omnitrix as kindred technology and initiated the upgrade. "Rather fortuitous for you, considering what's coming." "Which is what, exactly?" Paradox's expression grew serious. "Others seek what you now possess, Benjamin. The power to harness cosmic forces is rarely bestowed and universally coveted." Before Ben could ask for clarification, a low hum filled the air. They both looked up to see a sleek ship descending from the clouds, unmistakably plumber design, but more compact than standard models. "Ah, right on time," Paradox murmured, checking his watch again. "Or perhaps slightly early. Temporal fluctuations make precision difficult these days." The ship settled on the shore, its hull gleaming silver in the cosmic light. A ramp extended, and a figure emerged, female, feline features immediately identifying her Ravanagonder heritage. She wore standard plumber armor customized with additional tactical elements, a high-tech rifle slung across her back. "Rook Shar." Ben blinked in surprise. "I thought Rook was off-planet." "He is," Shar replied, her accent similar to her brother's but lighter, her voice more melodic. "Which is precisely why I was dispatched instead." Her amber eyes moved from Ben to Paradox, narrowing slightly. "Time Walker. Your presence suggests complications." "Perceptive as always, Miss Shar." Paradox offered a small bow. "Though I'm afraid I can't stay to explain. Timelines to monitor, paradoxes to prevent. The usual business." "Wait," Ben protested. "You can't just drop cosmic powers, and others seeking what I possess then disappear." Paradox smiled enigmatically. "Can't I?" He checked his watch one final time. "One hint before I go. The Celestial Omnitrix seeks balance. Remember that when the time comes." A flash of blue light enveloped the time traveler, and he vanished. Ben sighed, turning to Rook Shar. "Does your brother ever mention how annoying that gets?" "Frequently," Shar replied, the corner of her mouth twitching in what might have been amusement. She activated a scanner, sweeping it over Ben's wrist. "The Omnitrix has indeed undergone significant modification." "Fascinating." You knew this would happen. Not specifically. Shar adjusted the scanner settings. Plumber long-range sensors detected the cosmic anomaly 26 hours ago. When it aligned with your location, Magister Tennyson requested specialized assistance. And that's you? Ben asked. Noting the insignia on her armor indicated a higher rank than when he'd last seen her. I specialize in xenotechnology and unusual energy signatures, Shar explained, her tone matter of fact but not boastful. My team has been tracking similar phenomena across 3 sectors. The scanner beeped, and Shar frowned at the results. The energy pattern is unlike anything in our database, yet strangely compatible with Omnitrix technology. Almost as if a sudden explosion rocked the shoreline, sending both of them diving for cover. Ben rolled to his feet, already reaching for the Omnitrix as 3 sleek attack vessels appeared overhead. Their design unfamiliar, obsidian hulls absorbing rather than reflecting light. Friends of yours? Ben asked, fingers hovering over the transformed Omnitrix. Shar unholstered her weapon in one smooth motion. Negative. Hunter-class vessels, possibly mercenary. The lead ship fired again, the energy blast superheating the lake water to steam. Ben slammed down the Omnitrix dial, embracing the transformation energy. This time, it flowed smoother, his DNA rewriting with practiced efficiency into a form that felt like living flame. When the green light faded, Ben stood transformed into a humanoid figure composed of swirling plasma, his core burning white-hot while his outer layers shifted through solar colors, crimson, orange, yellow. Heat radiated from his body, instantly evaporating the lake water that had soaked his human form. Whoa, his voice crackled like a solar flare. Another new one. I'll call this one Solaris. Shar fired precision shots at the attacking vessels, each blast striking vulnerable points on their hulls with uncanny accuracy. I suggest you test your new form's capabilities quickly, she called, ducking beneath return fire. Ben, as Solaris, raised his hands instinctively. Solar energy gathered between his palms, condensing into a miniature star that pulsed with contained power. With a pushing motion, he launched the energy ball toward the nearest ship. It struck with devastating effect, melting through the vessel's hull like tissue paper. Okay, that's awesome, Solaris exclaimed, generating another energy sphere. The remaining ships broke formation, one diving toward Shar while the other circled behind Ben. Shar rolled beneath the attacking vessel, firing upward with perfect precision to hit its propulsion system. The ship lurched, smoke trailing as it struggled to maintain altitude. Ben focused on the ship targeting him, feeling the cosmic energy flowing through his transformed body. Instinctively, he understood this form didn't just generate heat, it manipulated stellar energy at a fundamental level. Concentrating, he created a gravitational microlens, bending light around himself to become invisible. The attacking ship halted, weapons scanning for its vanished target. Ben reappeared directly above it, both hands pressed against the hull. Solar energy poured through his palms, superheating the metal until it glowed white-hot. I recommend you leave, Solaris announced, voice resonating with barely contained power. Before I find out if this form can go supernova. The ship's engines engaged immediately, pulling away with such speed that Ben nearly lost his grip. He pushed off, landing beside Shar as the 3 damaged vessels retreated into the night sky. That was, Ben started, searching for words as the Omnitrix timed out, returning him to human form. Efficient, Shar finished, holstering her weapon. Her expression remained composed, but Ben caught the glint of appreciation in her amber eyes. Your new transformation demonstrates impressive energy manipulation capabilities. Yeah, but who were those guys? And how did they find us so quickly? Unknown, but their arrival suggests that the cosmic doohickey in the lake is valuable to someone, a new voice interrupted. Ben turned to find Julie approaching, her body encased in ship's upgraded armor. The black and green material retracted from her face, revealing her smile. Julie. Ben's voice cracked slightly with surprise. When did you get back? About 6 hours ago. She gestured to the lake. Couldn't resist checking out the light show. Figured you'd be involved somehow. Ben stared for a moment, taking in the changes 2 years had made. Julie stood taller, moved with more confidence, her athletic build evident even beneath ship's armor. A new scar traced her left cheekbone, and her eyes held experiences he hadn't shared. "It's good to see you," he finally managed, meaning it more than he expected. "You too, Ben." Her smile softened before she turned to Shar, extending a hand. "Julie Yamamoto, you must be Rook's sister." "Rook Shar," she confirmed, clasping Julie's forearm in the traditional plumber greeting. "Your biomechanical symbiote is most impressive. Ship's gotten some upgrades since we left Bellwood," Julie explained as the alien chirped happily from her armor. "We've been field testing combat configurations." Ben's eyebrows rose. "Combat configurations? I thought you were playing tennis." "I was. Julie shrugged. "The pro circuit has some interesting security challenges. Plus, ISTA. RTED working with the Galactic Athletic Commission's security division between tournaments." Before Ben could process this new information, the lake began to glow again, the water churning as if boiling from below. All three tensed, ready for another attack, but instead of rising, the water parted to reveal a figure emerging from the depths. She walked across the surface with impossible balance, team rising where her feet touched the water. Even from a distance, her Kraho heritage was evident in the markings on her reddish skin and the heat haze that surrounded her slender form. She wore ted black clothing that seemed resistant to the extreme temperatures her body naturally generated. "Esther," Ben called, recognizing her despite the changes in her appearance. Esther's face lit with a smile as she spotted him. With an elastic extension of her limbs, a natural Kraho ability, she stretched across the remaining distance to land gracefully on shore. "Ben Tennyson," she greeted, her voice carrying the slight rasp that came from a lifetime breathing superheated air. "I should have known you'd be at the center of this." Her eyes traveled to his wrist, widening at the transformed Omnitrix. "What happened to your watch?" "Cosmic upgrade, apparently," Ben answered, still processing the coincidence of three significant people from his past appearing simultaneously. "What are you doing here? I thought you were leading your people in the hot spot." "I am," Esther confirmed, her expression growing serious. "That's why I'm here. The thermal vents beneath Bellwood are fluctuating dangerously. My scientists detected an energy signature matching ancient Kraho legends about the Star Forge, a power source that allegedly created the first thermal pockets our ancestors inhabited." She gestured to the lake. "The readings led here, but I never expected." Her voice trailed off as she looked up at the cosmic display still illuminating the night sky. Shar's scanner beeped again, drawing everyone's attention. "The anomaly is intensifying," she reported, studying the readings. Energy levels increasing exponentially. As if responding to her words, the transformed Omnitrix pulsed, projecting the stellar hologram again. The constellations aligned differently this time, focusing on a pattern that resembled a gateway. That's probably not good," Ben said, just as the lake water began to churn more violently. A column of pure energy erupted from the center, shooting skyward to connect with the cosmic display above. The resulting shockwave knocked all four of them backward, only Julie's armored form remaining upright. When they recovered, a figure floated above the lake, humanoid but clearly alien, his body composed of what appeared to be living shadow. Stars glimmered within the darkness of his form, like glimpses into the cosmos itself. Ornate armor covered his shoulders and chest, inscribed with symbols that shifted continuously. At last, the being spoke, his voice resonating with deep power. "The celestial Omnitrix awakens." Ben stepped forward, positioning himself between the entity and the others. "Who are you?" The shadowy figure regarded him with eyes that burned like distant suns. "I am Lord Eclipse, collector of cosmic artifacts and master of shadow space." His gaze fixed on Ben's wrist. "And you, Ben Tennyson, possess what is rightfully mine." "Yeah, heard that one before," Ben retorted. Reaching for the Omnitrix usually doesn't end well for the guy making claims. Eclipse's laughter echoed with harmonic undertones similar to Celestigrade's voice. "Your reputation for bravado is well earned. But you don't understand what you've stumbled into." With a gesture from Eclipse, the cosmic display overhead intensified, ribbons of light descending surround the group in a complex pattern. Ben recognized it as matching the constellation from the Omnitrix's hologram. "The celestial convergence occurs once in 10,000 years, Eclipse continued. When the 13 cosmic nexus points align, allowing passage between dimensional barriers. The Omnitrix merely responded to the Convergence's call, as it was designed to do. Designed by whom? Shar asked sharply, her weapon raised though she hadn't fired. Eclipse's starry eyes shifted to her. By the Cosmosapiens, of course. The progenitors of all space-faring races, long since ascended beyond physical form. His attention returned to Ben. Their legacy includes artifacts of immense power, the celestial Omnitrix chief among them. Let me guess, Ben said dryly, you collect these artifacts. I preserve them, Eclipse corrected, and utilize them as they were meant to be used, not left dormant on the wrist of a human who cannot comprehend their significance. Ester stepped forward, heat rippling around her as her body temperature rose defensively. The Starforge legends speak of a shadow thief who sought to steal cosmic fire from the Kraho ancestors. Is that you, Eclipse? The cosmic being's form darkened. Your species remembers poorly. I offered your ancestors protection in exchange for the artifact they guarded. Their refusal cost them their homeworld. Okay, definitely the bad guy, Ben muttered. Activating the Omnitrix. Eclipse raised a hand, dark energy gathering between his fingers. The convergence has only begun, Tennyson. We will meet again, when the second nexus point activates. His form began to dissolve into shadow. Consider carefully whether you wish to stand against me. The celestial Omnitrix requires a worthy wielder, not merely a fortunate one. How about I show you worthy right now? Ben slammed down the dial, transforming into Celestigrade again. He launched himself toward Eclipse, moving faster than human eyes could track. But Eclipse simply smiled, his body dispersing into cosmic shadow as Ben passed through him. Impressive. You've bonded with Celestigrade already. His voice came from everywhere and nowhere. But there are 12 celestial forms to master before you can challenge me. The shadows reconstituted briefly, Eclipse's form solidifying one final time. The countdown to the cosmic nexus has begun. 13 days, 13 forms, 13 tests. His gaze swept over not just Ben but Julie, Ester, and Shar as well. Choose your allies wisely, Tennyson. Not all paths lead to salvation. With those words, Eclipse vanished completely. The cosmic display overhead fading to normal stars. The lake settled, its surface placid as if nothing had occurred. The Omnitrix timed out, leaving Ben human and staring at the empty space where Eclipse had been. Well, that was suitably cryptic and threatening. Shar was already scanning the area. No residual energy signature. He's completely gone. 13 days, Julie repeated. Ship's armor retracting fully as she approached Ben. Until what? Nothing good, Ester said grimly. Kraho legends say the Starforge could either renew worlds or consume them. Ben looked down at the transformed Omnitrix. Its sleek surface now deceptively quiet. Guess we've got 13 days to figure it out. Shar holstered her scanner. Magister Tennyson should be informed immediately. The plumbers will want to coordinate. No, Ben interrupted, surprising himself with the certainty in his voice. Eclipse said the Omnitrix was responding to the convergence. Whatever's happening, it chose me specifically. He looked around at the three women. And I don't think it's coincidence that you all showed up tonight. Julie folded her arms. What are you suggesting? That maybe we handle this ourselves, at least until we understand what we're dealing with. Eclipse mentioned cosmic nexus points activating. If we can reach the next one before he does, we might gain advantage, Shar finished, nodding thoughtfully. Tactically sound, if high risk. My people have maps of thermal anomalies that might correlate with these nexus points, Ester offered. Ancient Kraho star charts tracked cosmic energy flows. And ship can interface with the energy signatures, Julie added, the alien chirping agreement from her shoulder. Help us track them. Ben felt a smile forming. The Phi RST genuine one since the cosmic light show began. So we're doing this. The four of us against whatever Eclipse is planning. Shar checked her weapon with practiced efficiency. I was assigned to investigate the anomaly. This falls within mission parameters. The hot spot is threatened, Ester said simply. I go where the solution lies. All eyes turned to Julie. She met Ben's gaze steadily, something unreadable passing between them, history and potential, past and future balancing in a single moment. I just got back to Bellwood, she said finally. Might as well remember why I missed it. Ben nodded, feeling a strange certainty settle over him. Then it's settled. Tomorrow we start tracking the next nexus point. The transformed Omnitrix pulsed once, as if in agreement. Above them, a CNGLE shooting star crossed the now normal night sky, a reminder of the cosmic forces at play and the countdown that had begun. 13 days, 13 forms, 13 tests. The celestial convergence had only just begun. Chapter 2. Stellar Evolution. Morning sunlight spilled through the windows of Ben's apartment, illuminating a scene of organized chaos. Holographic maps projected from Shar's plum. R-Tech floated in the center of the living room, intersecting with ancient Kraho star charts that Ester had spread across the coffee table. Julie sat cross-legged on the floor, ship flowing between various technological forms as he interfaced with a fragment of alien crystal recovered from the lake. Ben paced the perimeter, the transformed Omnitrix occasionally projecting its own stellar holograms that disrupted the others' displays. "Could you stop fidgeting with that thing?" Julie asked without looking up, her fingers deftly manipulating ship's interface. "You're scrambling our data." "I'm not fidgeting," Ben protested. Though he immediately dropped his hand. "The Omnitrix keeps activating on its own. It's like it's trying to communicate." Shar glanced up from her scanner, amber eyes narrowing analytically. "Perhaps it is. The celestial Omnitrix appears semi-sentient, responding to cosmic fluctuations independently of user input." "Doesn't make it less annoying," Ben muttered. Ester stretched her arm across the room, literally, her Kraho elasticity allowing her to reach a thermal scanner on the far counter without standing. "According to these readings, the next cosmic nexus point should be activating within 18 hours. Any idea where?" Ben asked, coming to stand beside her. Ester retracted her arm to normal length, pointing to a location on one of the star charts. "Here, what humans call the Atacama Desert in Chile. One of the driest places on Earth." She frowned. "Also one of the most geothermally active, from a Kraho perspective." Shar overlaid her plumber map with Ester's chart. "Confirmed. Historical records indicate an unexplained structure discovered there in 1976, classified by Plumber Archives as Site 117. Investigation was suspended after 3 agents disappeared." "Disappeared how?" Julie asked, looking up from her work with ship. "Records are redacted," Shar replied. "However, the site was quarantined rather than destroyed, suggesting potential value despite the danger." Ben rubbed his hands together, a familiar gleam of excitement in his eyes. "Mysterious ancient site, cosmic convergence, disappeared agents, sounds like a Tuesday for us." Quote, "Your enthusiasm for potential peril remains unchanged," Shar observed dryly. "You have to admit it's better than filling out plumber incident reports," Ben grinned. A faint smile touched Shar's feline features. "Marginally." Julie stood, ship flowing back into his compact blob form and settling on her shoulder. "I've isolated the energy signature from the lake fragment. If similar emissions appear at the Atacama site, ship can track them. And I've compiled thermal variance patterns from Kraho historical records," Ester added. "If this is truly connected to the Star Forge, there should be specific heat signatures preceding the activation." Ben looked around at the 3 women, a strange sense of rightness settling over him. Each brought something crucial to this mission: Shar's tactical analysis and plumber resources, Ester's ancient knowledge and thermal abilities, Julie's technical ingenuity and ship's adaptability. "So we have a location and detection methods," he summarized. "Now we just need transportation." Shar gestured to a small communicator on her wrist. "My ship remains in orbit, programmed for rapid deployment. However, if Eclipse can track the Omnitrix," Ester interrupted, voicing what they all realized. "Using plumber channels could compromise operational security." "That's a very official way of saying, we'd be screwed," Ben noted. Julie stroked ship thoughtfully. "We have another option," ship chirped enthusiastically in response, already understanding her intent. "Ship can transform into an interstellar-capable craft. We modified the configuration during our time in Tokyo." "When exactly were you in Tokyo?" Ben asked, surprise evident in his voice. "The International Championships," Julie answered with a small shrug. Japan's proximity to certain terrestrial territories made it convenient for side projects. "Side projects," Ben repeated, studying her with newfound curiosity. "You've been busy." "We all have," Julie replied simply. A moment of silence stretched between them, acknowledgement of the 2 years spent on separate paths. Ester cleared her throat. If ship can transport us, we should depart immediately. The desert temperature drops significantly at night, which would give us optimal conditions for initial reconnaissance. Agreed, Shar said, already packing her equipment with military precision. I'll upload the site coordinates to ship's navigation systems. As they prepared to leave, Ben's phone chimed with Grandpa Max's ringtone. He hesitated, staring at the screen. You should answer, Julie said quietly. He'll worry otherwise. Ben nodded, stepping onto the balcony for privacy. Max's concerned face appeared on the screen immediately. Ben, where have you been? You've missed 2 check-ins since the lake incident. Sorry, Grandpa, things have been. Ben glanced at the transformed Omnitrix. Complicated. So I gathered from Rook Shar's preliminary report. Max's expression grew more serious. She mentioned a cosmic entity and transformations we've never catalogued before. The plumbers are mobilizing a response team. Tell them to stand down, Ben said firmly. This situation requires a different approach. Max's eyes narrowed. What aren't you telling me, Ben? The celestial Omnitrix responds to specific individuals, Ben improvised, not entirely sure why he felt so strongly about keeping the team small. Too many plumbers might disrupt the energy patterns we're tracking. It wasn't completely a lie, but it wasn't the full truth either. Something about Eclipse's warnings, about choosing allies wisely, had lodged in Ben's mind. Max didn't look convinced. I don't like this, Ben. At least take a full tactical squad with you. I have a team, Ben assured him. Julie's back, and with Ester and Rook Shar. We've got all bases covered. Trust me on this, Grandpa. The older man sighed heavily. 48 hours. Then I want a full report and reassessment. Deal, Ben agreed quickly. And Ben, Max's voice softened slightly. Be careful, we don't know what this celestial Omnitrix is truly capable of. That makes 2 of us, Ben muttered as the call ended. When he returned inside, the others had finished preparations. Julie stood by the window, ship already transformed into a sleek, compact spacecraft that somehow fit on the balcony. All set, she asked, noting Ben's expression. How much trouble are we in with Magister Tennyson? 48-hour leash, Ben replied, grabbing a jacket. After that, expect the cavalry. Shar shouldered her tactical pack. Sufficient time to investigate the nexus point and determine our next course of action. Then let's not waste it, Ester said, heading for the balcony. They boarded ship, the interior reconfiguring to accommodate all 4 of them comfortably. Julie took the pilot's position, her hands connecting to biomechanical interfaces that linked directly with ship's systems. Everyone secure? She asked as the craft hummed to life. Ben strapped himself into the co-pilot seat, trying not to look too impressed. When did ship learn to do all this? Last time I saw him, he was still figuring out car mode. Julie smiled as ship's engines engaged, lifting them silently into the morning sky. Let's just say we both evolved while we were away. The craft accelerated smoothly, its hull shifting to optimal aerodynamic configuration as they rose above Bellwood. Within moments, they were streaking through the upper atmosphere, Earth's curvature becoming visible through the viewports. Estimated arrival time, 47 minutes, Shar announced. Monitoring the navigation display, current trajectory avoids conventional flight paths and satellite detection grids. Ben whistled softly. Ship's gotten stealthy too. Necessary adaptations, Julie explained. Her focus on the controls. The tennis circuit can get complicated when certain parties discover you're harboring alien technology. You were targeted? Ben asked, concern evident in his voice. Julie's expression remained composed, but a new hardness appeared in her eyes. 3 times. The second attempt nearly succeeded. She glanced at him. Ship and I adjusted our partnership accordingly. The implication hung in the air. Julie had faced dangers without him, had adapted and grown stronger through her own trials. The realization sparked both pride and a faint regret in Ben's chest. From the rear compartment, Ester monitored thermal readings as they crossed the equator. Approaching southern hemisphere. Desert temperatures reading at optimal range for nexus detection. Beginning descent, Julie announced, ship's form flattening slightly as they dropped into the lower atmosphere. The Atacama's vast, red-orange landscape spread beneath them, an alien panorama of salt flats. rock formations, and sand dunes that stretched to the horizon. Despite being on Earth, the terrain looked otherworldly, its stark beauty both breathtaking and forbidding. There, Shar indicated a series of unusual rock formations arranged in a perfect circle. Site 117. Julie guided ship to a landing position half a kilometer from the site, close enough for quick access, but far enough to avoid immediate detection. As the craft settled on the desert floor, its hull shimmered and adapted, taking on the coloration of the surrounding terrain. Passive camouflage, Julie explained as they disembarked. Ship can maintain this form indefinitely while we investigate. The desert air hit them immediately, dry and cool in the early evening, with a stillness that made every sound seem amplified. The transformed Omnitrix pulsed on Ben's wrist, its constellation display shifting to align with their location. "It knows we're close," Ben said quietly. Ester knelt, pressing her palm against the ground. As a Kraho, her thermal sensitivity allowed her to detect heat patterns invisible to others. "There's something beneath us," she reported. "A network of tunnels or chambers. Superheated compared to the surrounding Earth. Consistent with preliminary scans," Shar confirmed, adjusting her equipment. "The structure appears primarily subterranean, with the surface formations serving as markers or access points." Quote, Ben scanned the circle of stone pillars, each standing 15 feet high and carved with symbols similar to those he'd seen on the Omnitrix's display. "So how do we get in? I don't see anything resembling a door." Julie allowed ship to flow over her hand, forming into a specialized scanner. "There's an energy signature emanating from the central point between the pillars. Faint, but consistent with what we detected at the lake." "Then that's where we start," Ben decided, leading the way toward the stone circle. As they approached, the air seemed to thicken, creating a resistance like walking through water. The sky overhead darkened despite the absence of clouds, stars becoming visible despite the early hour. "Temporal distortion," Shar observed, checking her instruments. "Local spacetime is compressing." "In English?" Ben asked, struggling against the increasing pressure. "Time moves differently here," Ester translated, her elastic physiology allowing her to adapt more easily to the resistance. "The nexus point exists partially outside normal space." They reached the perimeter of the stone circle, the pressure intensifying until every step required significant effort. The Omnitrix flared suddenly, projecting a constellation pattern that aligned perfectly with the arrangement of the pillars. "I think it wants me to transform," Ben said, cycling through the dial which now displayed unfamiliar silhouettes surrounded by cosmic energy. "Wait," Julie cautioned, ship extending from her arm to analyze the projection. "The temporal distortio might affect the transformation process. We should understand what we're dealing with first." Before Ben could respond, the ground beneath them trembled. The central point between the pillars began to glow, sand and stone swirling upward to form a spiraling vortex. "Too late for caution," Ester called over the rising wind. "The nexus is activating." "Ben." Shar tossed him a small device. "Quantum stabilizer. It may help control the transformation." Ben caught the device, attaching it to the Omnitrix just as cosmic energy erupted from the vortex. The force knocked the others backward while Ben remained frozen in place, the energy flowing directly into the transformed device. This time, the transformation felt different, not painful but overwhelming, as if his consciousness expanded beyond his physical form. Green light enveloped him, intermingled with strands of cosmic blue and silver. When it faded, Ben had transformed into a humanoid figure composed of what appeared to be living crystal. Similar to Diamond Head but fundamentally different. His body structure was more fluid, the crystalline surfaces constantly shifting and refracting light in patterns that mirrored the stars overhead. Each movement created prismatic displays of energy, and his eyes glowed with inner light that changed colors as he turned. "Whoa," he breathed, his voice resonating with harmonic overtones. "This is new, Ben," Julie called from the edge of the circle, ship's armor protecting her from the continuing energy discharge. "Are you okay?" "Better than okay," he replied, examining his crystalline form. "I'll call this one Prismanova." Experimentally, Ben raised his hands. The crystal comprising his body responded instantaneously, extending and reshaping according to his will. More impressively, he discovered he could manipulate light itself, bending, focusing, or dispersing it with mere thought. Focusing this ability, Ben created a bridge of solid light extending into the vortex. I think I can get us inside. The others approached cautiously, the energy storm subsiding as Prismanova's light bridge stabilized the vortex. The structure is incredible, Shar observed, scanning the swirling energies. A perfect gateway between dimensional planes. And likely triggered by the celestial Omnitrix, Ester added, studying Ben's new form with fascination. Your crystalline composition MB less ancient Kraho illustrations of the Star-Forge Guardians. Ben extended a hand, creating steps of solid light descending into the vortex. Ladies first, tactically unsound, Shar replied, unholstering her weapon. Your new form appears specifically designed to navigate this environment. You should lead. Always the pragmatist, Ben laughed, the sound creating ripples of luminescence across his crystalline body. Stay close. I don't know how long this transformation will last. Together, they descended the light bridge into the swirling vortex. The sensation was disorienting. Gravity seemed to shift direction with each step. And sounds echoed strangely, as if reaching them from great distances. The air itself felt charged with potential energy. At the bottom, they found themselves in a vast, circular chamber that defied terrestrial architecture. Walls of unknown material curved upward to form a perfect dome, their surfaces inscribed with the same cosmic symbols seen on the Omnitrix. 13 pillars arranged in a circle supported the structure, each emitting light of a different spectral frequency. It's beautiful, Julie whispered, ship flowing around her protectively as they moved further into the chamber. And ancient, Shar added, her scanner struggling to process the readings. Carbon dating is impossible, but the technology suggests origins predating known galactic civilization. Ester approached one wall, her fingers tracing symbols with reverent care. These match Kraho sacred texts, stories passed down for millennia about the Forge Masters who gave our ancestors fire. In the center of the chamber stood a raised platform, atop which hovered a perfect sphere of energy, pulsing with the same cosmic rhythm as the celestial Omnitrix. Ben approached it cautiously, feeling an inexplicable connection between his transformed state and the sphere. I think this is what Eclipse is after, he said, the crystalline structure of Prismanova resonating with the sphere's frequency. What is it? Julie asked, keeping a cautious distance. A Nexus key, answered a familiar voice from the shadows. All four turned as Lord Eclipse materialized from darkness, his star. Why form more substantial than during their previous encounter? He wore an expression of bemused interest as he regarded Ben's transformation. Prismanova, he observed, an excellent choice for this particular nexus. Your instincts serve you well, Tennyson. Ben positioned himself between Eclipse and the sphere. You're not getting this key. I already possess 7, Eclipse replied calmly, Revia. Ling an ornate device on his arm containing 7 similar spheres, each glowing with different cosmic energy. The Atacama Nexus would make 8. Still, I'm impressed by your progress, finding this low cation without guidance suggests the Omnitrix has bonded with you more deeply than anticipated. What are these keys for? Ester demanded, her body temperature rising defensively, creating a heat haze around her form. Eclipse's star-filled eyes shifted to her. The cosmic convergence requires 13 keys to unlock the heart of creation, the multidimensional nexus point where universal constants can be rewritten. You intend to reshape reality, Shar concluded, her weapon raised though she maintained trigger discipline. To what end? Restoration, Eclipse answered simply. The universe exists in a state of entropy. Bleeding potential with each passing eon. The Cosmosapiens understood this, created fail-safes like the celestial Omnitrix to preserve cosmic balance. Ben felt the Omnitrix pulse against his crystalline form. And let me guess, you're just the selfless guy who volunteered to handle this restoration. Eclipse's expression hardened. I witnessed the Cosmosapiens' ascension. Their transformation from physical beings into entities of pure cosmic energy. They entrusted their legacy to those they deemed worthy. His gaze fixed on the transformed Omnitrix. That device belonged to my mentor before it was lost between dimensions. The revelation hung in the chamber, altering the context of their conflict. This wasn't just another power-hungry villain seeking dominance, Eakly. PSE believed himself the rightful inheritor of cosmic responsibility. If you served the Cosmosapiens, Ester said carefully, then you know their teachings emphasized balance through diversity, not centralized control. Eclipse's form darkened slightly, You presume to lecture me on their philosophy. I walked among them for 1,000 years while your ancestors still huddled in caves. Then act like it, Ben challenged. If the Omnitrix chose me, maybe there's a reason. Work with us instead of against us. For a moment, Eclipse seemed to consider the offer, his starry eyes studying Ben thoughtfully. Then he laughed, a sound like distant stellar wind. Admirable, but naive. The convergence cannot be navigated by committee. When the 13 keys align, one consciousness must direct the resulting power. He raised a hand, shadow energy gathering between his fingers. I do not wish to destroy you, Tennyson. Surrender the Omnitrix, and I will ensure your world remains unchanged in the cosmic reformation. Yeah, not happening, Ben replied, his crystalline body shifting into a defensive stance. Eclipse sighed. Then we do this the difficult way. He launched a blast of shadow energy directly at Ben. Instinctively, Prismanova's abilities activated, the crystal structure of Ben's body refracting and redirecting the attack into harmless light that dispersed throughout the chamber. Eclipse's eyes widened slightly. Impressive control for a novice. I'm a quick study, Ben replied, gathering light between his palms and compressing it into a concentrated beam that he fired back at Eclipse. The cosmic entity raised a barrier of shadow matter, absorbing most of the attack, but the force still pushed him backward. He recovered quickly, drawing power from the darkness between the pillars. Enough games, Eclipse growled, the stars within his shadowy form burning brighter. The Nexus key will be mine. He unleashed a wave of gravitational force that distorted the chamber's dimensions, sending Julie and Ester sliding toward the walls while Shar anchored herself to a pillar. Ben remained stable, Prismanova's crystalline structure somehow resistant to the spatial manipulation. Everyone okay? Ben called, concerned by the intensity of Eclipse's attack. Managing, Julie replied, ship's armor extending spikes that anchored into the floor. But we need a plan beyond. Hit the shadow guy with light. Shar, still gripping the pillar, activated her scanner with her free hand. The Nexus key appears synchronized with the chamber's pillars. If we can activate all 13 simultaneously, we might stabilize the Nexus, Ester finished, her elastic arms stretched between two pillars to maintain position against the gravitational pull. Kraho texts mention a harmony of lights that sealed the Star Forge. Ben nodded, formulating a strategy. Julie, you and Ship focus on Eclipse, keep him occupied. Shar, coordinate with Ester to activate the pillars. I'll protect the key. Eclipse laughed darkly. Your primitive tactics are amusing but futile. This chamber responds only to Cosmosapian energy signatures, which only I possess. Not anymore, Ben replied, the Prismanova form glowing brighter as he channeled energy through his crystalline body. The Omnitrix symbol on his chest pulsed in rhythm with the Nexus key, creating a resonance pattern that spread to the nearest pillars. Eclipse's expression shifted from amusement to concern. Impossible. The Omnitrix cannot replicate Cosmosapian resonance patterns. Apparently it can, Julie called as Ship launched a bara GE of energy projectiles to distract Eclipse. Ester stretched between pillars with incredible speed, her thermal abilities activating long-dormant mechanisms within each one. The Star Forge wasn't just Cosmosapian technology, she explained, a fierce grin on her face. They collaborated with ancient species, including Proto-Kraho. Shar, having calculated the precise activation sequence, directed Ester's efforts while maintaining suppressive fire on Eclipse with her plumber weapon. Sequential activation in three-pointed pattern. Counter-clockwise rotation. As each pillar activated, the gravitational distortion lessened, allowing more normal movement through the chamber. Ben focused on maintaining the resonance between Prismanova's crystal structure and the Nexus key, creating a protectee barrier of refracted light around the central platform. Eclipse, realizing his advantage was diminishing, abandoned subtlety. Shadow matter coalesced around him like armor as he charged directly toward Ben and the key. The convergence is greater than any single world, he roared, cosmic energy crackling between his hands. Your limited perspective blinds you to necessity. Ben stood his ground, Prismanova's crystalline hands raised. Maybe, or maybe you've spent so long looking at the big picture that you've forgotten what you're trying to protect. Their energies collided in a spectacular display of light and shadow, neither gaining advantage as the chamber trembled around them. The pillars continued activating under Ester and Shar's efforts, 9 now glowing in sequence, then 10, 11. Julie, seeing Eclipse fully engaged with Ben, directed ship into the control systems exposed by the activated pillars. The galvanic mechamorph flowed into the ancient technology, his adaptive properties allowing him to interface with the alien systems. Ships connected to the chamber mainframe, Julie announced, her eyes tracking data through the symbiotic link she shared with her partner. He's identified the activation protocol, but there's a genetic lock requiring Cosmosapian authorization. Can you bypass it? Shar called, activating the 12th pillar. Not bypass, Julie replied. Her expression focused as ship transmitted information directly to her. But maybe, ship, reconfigure to pattern Alpha 7. The portion of ship integrated with the chamber's systems pulsed with energy. Rather than attempting to override the genetic lock, he adapted to it, his galvanic mechamorph properties allowing him to temporarily mimic the required signature by sampling the energy patterns in the active pillars. The chamber responded immediately, the final pillar activating without physical contact. All 13 now glowed in perfect harmony, creating a containment field around the Nex. A key that stabilized its energy output. Eclipse felt the shift in power and broke away from his confrontation with Ben, turning toward the now stabilized key with dismay. What have you done? Balance the equation, Ben answered. Prismanova's form radiating with accumulated energy. Isn't that what the Cosmosapians wanted? Before Eclipse could respond, the Nexus key rose from its platform, suspended within the harmonized energy field of the 13 pillars. It pulsed once, twice, then shot a beam of concentrated cosmic energy directly into the celestial Omnitrix symbol on Ben's chest. The resulting connection created a feedback loop of information, not just energy but knowledge flowing into Ben's consciousness. Images, concepts, and understanding beyond human comprehension flooded his mind. Filtered and translated by the Omnitrix's systems into something his brain could process. When the transfer completed, Ben stood unsteady but enlightened, the Prismanova form glowing with renewed purpose. The celestial Omnitrix, he said softly, his voice carrying new certainty. It wasn't just a tool for transformation, it was a key to cosmic balance. Eclipse remained motionless, watching. As the Nexus key settled back onto its platform, now permanently linked with the Omnitrix. You cannot comprehend what you've done, he said finally. The convergence requires precise control, not divided purpose. Maybe, Ben acknowledged, but the knowledge transfer showed me something else. The Cosmosapians never intended for one being to direct the convergence. He gestured to his companions. They designed it to require diversity of perspective. Balance through cooperation, not singular vision. Eclipse's form dimmed slightly as he processed this claim. You lie to justify your interference. See for yourself, Ben challenged. Directing Prismanova's light manipulation abilities to project the knowledge he'd received, images of 13 different species working in concert to maintain cosmic equilibrium. The celestial Omnitrix designed as one component in a system of checks and balances. For a moment, doubt crossed Eclipse's features. Then his expression hardened again. Even if true, circumstances have changed. The other components were lost eons ago. Only I remain to carry out the Cosmosapians' legacy. Not anymore, Ester interjected, stepping forward with newfound confidence. The knowledge Ben received confirms what Kraho legends always claimed: we were part of the cosmic balance. Our ancestors were entrusted with thermal regulation of nexus points. Shar nodded, her analytical mind rapidly connecting pieces. The missing plumber agents. They weren't victims. They were representatives chosen by the Nexus. Part of the system reactivating. And ship's ability to interface with the technology suggests galvanic mechamorphs were also part of the original design, Julie added. Creating adaptive pathways between different systems. Eclipse looked between them, his ancient certainty visibly shaken. Impossible. The cosmic balance was entrusted to elevated beings, not. He gestured dismissively. Not ordinary people just trying to do the right thing. Ben finished for him. Maybe that was the point all along. Before Eclipse could respond, the chamber began to vibrate with new energy. The Nexus key pulsed rapidly, and the cosmic display overhead intensified, forming a map of interconnected points spreading across the Earth and beyond. The second Nexus is activating, Eclipse announced, momentarily setting aside their philosophical disagreement. Earlier than scheduled, the convergence is accelerating. Where? Ben demanded. Eclipse pointed to a location illuminated on the cosmic map. The Carpathian Mountains. What your people once called Transylvania. The name sent a chill through the group despite the chamber's ambient warmth. Of course it had to be Transylvania, Ben muttered. Why couldn't it be Hawaii or something? The Nexus Point's core. Respond to locations of significant cosmic disturbance throughout Earth's history, Eclipse explained, his tone shifting to something less adversarial. Places where the barrier between dimensions naturally thins. Which explains the vampire legends, Julie noted. People perceiving interdimensional entities through cultural filters. Eclipse studied them with renewed interest. You understand more than I anticipated. His gaze settled on Ben. Perhaps there is merit to your claim of intended cooperation. Then work with us, Ben offered again. Whatever the convergence leads to, we can face it together. For a long moment, Eclipse seemed to consider the proposal. Then his eyes hardened once more. A temporary alliance might prove efficient. But when the final nexus activates, there can be only one controller. With those ominous words, his form dissolved into shadow, vanishing from the chamber without further confrontation. Well, that was almost progress, Ben sighed as the Omnitrix timed out. Returning him to human form. Julie approached, ship flowing back to her shoulder after disengaging from the chamber systems. Ship downloaded significant data from the Nexus mainframe. It'll take time to process. But it should help us understand what we're dealing with. And I documented the cosmic map, Shar added, reviewing her scanner. All 13 Nexus points are now identified, though their activation sequence appears to be accelerating from the original 13-day timeline. Ester studied the now dormant pillars. The knowledge transfer Ben received, could you understand all of it? Ben rubbed his temples, sorting through the information still settling in his mind. Not even close. It was like trying to drink from a fire hose. But I got the basics. The celestial Omnitrix was created as part of a regulatory system to manage cosmic energy during convergence events. Why Earth? Julie asked. Of all places in the universe. Not just Earth, Ben explained. This planet is one nexus point in a multidimensional system. But Earth exists at a cosmic crossroads. Something about its position in spacetime makes it particularly significant. Shar's ears twitched with interest. The plumbers have long theorized Earth holds unique dimensional properties. This explains why so many interstellar conflicts center on this apparently unremarkable planet. So what happens when all 13 nexus points activate? Julie asked the question they were all thinking. Ben's expression grew serious. According to what I saw, a cosmic reset. Not destruction, but realignment. Like rebooting a computer that's developed too many operational conflicts. An Eclipse wants to control this reset, Ester concluded. Reshape reality according to his vision of cosmic order. Hitch almost certainly doesn't include free will, Julie added grimly. Ben nodded. The original system was designed with 13 different perspectives contributing to the reset, maintaining balance through diversity. Eclipse believes he can handle all 13 aspects himself. The question remains, Shar noted, why the celestial Omnitrix selected you specifically, Ben. If the system requires 13 different perspectives, one device seems insufficient. Ben glanced down at the transformed Omnitrix, its surface now calm after the knowledge transfer. I think it's because of my history with the original Omnitrix. I've already merged with thousands of different DNA patterns, experienced countless perspectives through transformation. You're a nexus yourself, Ester realized. A convergence point of multiple consciousnesses. Quote, maybe, Ben acknowledged, but I think there's more to it. He looked around at his companions. I don't think it's coincidence that the three of you were drawn into this. When Eclipse said, choose your allies wisely, he might have been inadvertently telling the truth. Each of you represents something essential to the balance. Julie raised an eyebrow. Or what? Cosmic counterweights to Eclipse's unilateral control. Something like that, Ben smiled. Though I'd prefer, awesome team of universal protectors. Shar checked her scanner again, expression growing concerned. The temporal distortion is collapsing. We should exit the chamber before dimensional realignment compromises our molecular integrity. She means, let's get out before we get squished between dimensions. Ben translated, already heading toward the exit. Which sounds like solid advice to me. They ascended the passage that had brought them into the chamber, finding the Desert night fully fallen during their time below. Stars blazed overhead with unusual clarity, the Milky Way stretching across the sky in breathtaking detail. Ship transformed into his spacecraft configuration, ready for their departure. As they prepared to board, Shar suddenly froze, her sensitive ears picking up sounds beyond human hearing. Aircraft approaching, she announced, readying her weapon. 3 distinct engine signatures, not plumber design. Ben activated the Omnitrix, cycling through the available transformations. Eclipse said he already has 7 Nexus keys. Betty's got friends helping collect the others. Before he could select an alien form, 3 black vessels identical to those from the lake incident appeared over the horizon, weapons systems already charging. Ship can outrun them, Julie said confidently, the craft's hull reconfiguring for combat capabilities. No, Ben decided, selecting a transformation. If they're tracking the Omnitrix energy signature, they'll just follow us to the next nexus. We need to end this now. He slammed down the dial, embracing the cosmic energy as it reshaped his DNA. This time, the transformation felt fluid, as if the Omnitrix had adapted further to the celestial energies. When the green light faded, Ben stood transformed into a being composed of swirling cosmic gases and energy, a living nebula contained within a vaguely humanoid shape. Stars formed and died within the substance of his body, and gravitational waves emanated from his movement. Whoa, Ben breathed, his voice echoing across multiple frequencies simultaneously. This is intense. Let's call this one Nebulon. The approaching ships opened fire, energy weapons discharging toward their position. Ben raised his hands instinctively, and the very sea of space distorted between them and the attack, the energy blasts curving away like light around a massive stellar object. Gravitational manipulation, Shar observed, analyzing the new transformation. Creating localized space-time distortions. Works for me, Ben replied, feeling the incredible power flowing through Nebulon's form. The lead ship accelerated, attempting to flank their position. Julie directed ship to intercept. The mechamorph craft extending defensive capabilities to shield Ester and Shar while Ben confronted the attackers. Testing his new form's abilities, Ben concentrated on the space around the lead vessel. Nebulon's powers responded instantly, creating a gravitational lens that bent light around the ship, effectively rendering it blind. The disoriented craft veered sharply, nearly colliding with its companions. The other vessels scattered, recalibrating weapons to target Ben specifically. They're focusing on the Omnitrix energy signature, Shar called, her scanner tracking their targeting systems. Using quantum-locked precision guidance. Then let's give them more targets than they can handle, Ben replied, discovering another aspect of Nebulon's abilities. Concentrating, he created gravitational focal points around the battlefield, each one bending light and energy to create perfect holographic duplicates of himself. Within seconds, a dozen Nebulon images surrounded the attacking ships, each emitting identical energy signatures. The vessels' targeting systems faltered, unable to distinguish the real Omnitrix from the duplicates. Their weapons' fire became erratic, striking empty desert as often as the holograms. Nice trick, Julie commented, guiding ship into position above the confused attackers. But we need to end this before they adapt. Working on it, Ben assured her, gathering cosmic energy between his nebulous hands. The substance of Nebulon's form allowed him to generate and manipulate fundamental cosmic forces. Focusing this power, Ben created a miniature representation of an actual astronomical event, a gravitational slingshot effect that, when released, would send the attacking ships hurtling upward with tremendous force. Everyone behind me, he warned. The cosmic energies within his form glowing brighter as the effect built. Ester and Shar took cover behind ship's protective hull as Ben unleashed the gravitational slingshot. The effect was immediate and dramatic. All 3 attacking vessels suddenly caught in an invisible force that flung them skyward at tremendous speed, their engines unable to compensate for the overwhelming gravitational manipulation. Within seconds, the ships vanished from sight, propelled far beyond Earth's atmosphere. Did you just launch them into orbit? Ester asked incredulously. More like the Oort cloud, Ben replied, the nebulous substance of his body settling into a more stable configuration. They're not coming back anytime soon. Impressive, Shar acknowledged, but concerning. The power requirements for such manipulation exceed even celestial sapien capabilities. Celestial sapiens operate within universal law, Ben explained, knowledge from the Nexus transfer flowing through his consciousness. Nebulon draws power directly from cosmic background radiation, energy that exists between universal boundaries. Julie approached cautiously, studying the new transformation. Is it stable? You look like you're having trouble maintaining form. She was right. The edges of Nebulon's body seemed to dissipate occasionally, cosmic energy leaking into the surrounding air before being drawn back into the main form. It's like trying to hold smoke underwater, Ben admitted. This form wants to expand to its natural state, which would probably be roughly the size of, well, a nebula. The Omnitrix symbol on his chest pulsed warning red. And there's the timer. Everybody back. I don't know how the reversion energy will interact with Nebulon's cosmic radiation. The others retreated to a safe distance as the Omnitrix completed its cycle. The transformation reversal generated an unusual energy discharge, a momentary aurora effect that rippled outward before dissipating harmlessly into the night sky. Ben dropped to one knee, the experience of Nebulon's cosmic awareness leaving him temporarily disoriented. Okay, that one's going to take some getting used to. Ester helped him to his feet. You've mastered 3 celestial transformations in less than 24 hours. Most wielders would require months to achieve such control. Lots of practice with the original Omnitrix, Ben explained modestly. Though the praise warmed him. Plus, these forms feel, I don't know, like they recognize me somehow. The knowledge transfer indicated the celestial Omnitrix was designed with adaptive intelligence. Shar noted, holstering her weapon as the immediate threat had passed. It may be calibrating transformations to your specific neural patterns. Julie, who had been conferring with Ship, rejoined the group with a troubled expression. Ship analyzed the attack pattern. Those vessels weren't just targeting the Omnitrix, they were scanning it. Capturing its energy signature. For tracking purposes, Shar asked sharply. More likely for replication, Julie corrected. The scan patterns match technology cloning algorithms. Ben looked down at the celestial Omnitrix with new concern. So Eclipse can track every transformation, possibly even predict which form I'll take next. Which compromises our strategic advantage, Shar concluded. Ester's eyes widened with sudden realization. The Star Forge legends mentioned this, the shadow thief who stole fire by following its light. Our ancestors developed thermal cloaking to protect the forge's location. Can we adapt something similar for the Omnitrix? Ben asked. Shar considered the problem. Possibly. A quantum state buffer might mask the energy signature during inactive periods, but during transformation. Ship could help, Julie suggested. His adaptive properties could create a localized field that scrambles the signature without interfering with functionality. The mechamorph chirped agreement, a small portion of his form detaching to flow around Ben's wrist, analyzing the celestial Omnitrix. It would require continuous adaptation, Shar cautioned. The energy patterns change with each transformation. Ship can handle it, Julie said confidently. We developed similar protocols when dealing with energy tracking mercenaries in Singapore. At Ben's curious look, she added, another side project. Your time away grows increasingly intriguing, Julie Yamamoto, Shar observed with subtle humor. Julie smiled enigmatically. A girl needs hobbies. Ben felt a renewed appreciation for how Julie had grown during their time apart, no longer just the tennis player with an alien pet, but a resourceful tactician with experiences that paralleled his own adventures. So we have a plan for the Omnitrix, Ben summarized. But we still need to reach the Carpathian Nexus point before Eclipse. Ship's already plotted the course, Julie confirmed. Estimated flight time, 4 hours with dimensional shortcuts. Dimensional shortcuts. Ben raised an eyebrow. Another upgrade we discovered, Julie explained as they boarded the craft. Ship can briefly phase between dimensional boundaries to reduce travel distance. It's not teleportation, but it helps. As Ship's hull sealed around them, reconfiguring for atmospheric departure, Ben found himself studying Julie with newfound interest. He confident way she handled Ship's controls, the casual reference to dimensional physics. This was a different Julie than the one he'd known 2 years ago. Different, but somehow even more compelling. Ester noticed his attention and gave him a knowing smile as she secured herself for takeoff. The journey reveals more than the destination, she murmured, an old Kraho proverb that felt particularly relevant. Shar, focused on preparing her equipment for their next encounter, seemed oblivious to the subtle emotional currents shifting between her companions. Her practical nature kept them grounded in the mission, a necessary counterbalance to the cosmic scale of their undertaking. As ship rose into the night sky, accelerating toward the distant Carpathian Mountains, Ben considered the strange path that had brought these four specific individuals together. Different species, different backgrounds, different perspectives, yet somehow forming a cohesive whole that felt right in ways he couldn't fully articulate. Approaching dimensional boundary, Julie announced from the pilot's position. Transition in 3, 2, 1. The desert landscape outside the viewports rippled and vanished, replaced momentarily by a kaleidoscopic tunnel of pure possibility before resolving into high-altitude darkness above the Atlantic Ocean. Carpathian ETA updated. 2 hours, 17 minutes, Julie reported as ship's systems adjusted to the dimensional jump. Ben leaned back in his seat, feeling the weight of responsibility settling around him like a familiar coat. 13 Nexus points. 10 celestial transformations still to master. A cosmic reset hanging in the balance. The celestial Omnitrix pulsed softly on his wrist, as if acknowledging his thoughts. Whatever came next, they would face it together, not just as allies, but as something more, a team uniquely positioned to maintain the balance Eclipse sought to control. Next stop, Transylvania, Ben murmured, watching distant lightning flash over the ocean below. Vampires, prepare to meet the celestial light show. Chapter 3. Universal Harmony. Transylvanian mist clung to ancient stone-like spectral fingers, obscuring the lower Riak. He's of Castle Dracula while its upper turrets pierced the pre-dawn gloom. Perched atop the highest spire, Ben surveyed the brooding landscape, the celestial Omnitrix pulsing with increasing urgency against his skin. 8 Nexus points activated, 5 remaining, each one bringing them closer to the final convergence in Eclipse's endgame. If you're trying to look dramatically gothic, you've succeeded admirably, Julie commented, climbing the narrow staircase to join him. Ship flowed around her shoulders like a living scarf, occasionally extending sensors to analyze their surroundings. Ben smiled despite the weight of their situation. Just thinking. The Carpathian Nexus was strangely unguarded. Suspiciously so, Julie agreed, leaning against the weathered stone balustrade. Eclipse didn't even show up to monologue about cosmic destiny. He's conserving energy, Ester's voice announced as she stretched her elastic form up through the opening in the tower floor, bypassing the stairs entirely. Her thermal abilities had proven invaluable in the castle's bone-chilling interior. The activation sequence is accelerating. We've gone from 13 days to possibly 48 hours. Ben nodded grimly. The knowledge transfer from the Atacama Nexus suggested something like this might happen. Cosmic convergence events have a tendency to build momentum, like avalanches or chain reactions. Accurate assessment, Shar confirmed. Appearing silently at the stairway in trance, her feline eyes reflecting what little light penetrated the mist. She held her scanner with one hand, its display illuminating her features in soft blue. The remaining Nexus points are activating in geographically connected sequences rather than chronological intervals. Meaning, Julie prompted. The Grand Cuz. Mike Nexus will activate within 23 hours, Shar answered, her tone clinically precise despite the apocalyptic implications. And its location is now confirmed. All eyes turned to her expectantly. Mount Rushmore, she revealed. Specifically, the sealed chamber beneath the monument where the original Mount Rushmore plumber base was constructed. Ben's eyebrows rose. Seriously, the final, cosmic convergence that could rewrite reality is happening at a tourist trap. The monument itself was constructed over a pre-existing geological anomaly, Shar explained. Plumber records indicate unusual energy readings dating back centuries before human settlement. Indigenous accounts reference the site as a doorway between stars, which explains why Grandpa Max established a base there in the first place, Ben concluded. He always did have a knack for finding cosmic hot spots. Ester stepped fully onto the tower platform, her expression thoughtful as she gazed across the misty Carpathian Valley. 9 celestial transformations unlocked, 4 remaining. The question is whether you'll master them all before the final convergence. Ben looked down at the transformed Omnitrix, its Su-R face now bearing intricate cosmic patterns that shifted like living constellations. I'm more concerned about what happens when all 13 activate simultaneously. The energy discharge could be catastrophic without proper regulation. Which is precisely what Eclipse is counting on, a familiar voice interrupted. The group turned to find Professor Paradox standing calmly beside a crumbling gargoyle. His appearance as impeccable as ever despite the damp, misty conditions. He checked his pocket watch with practiced precision before addressing them. Your progress has been remarkable, Particle. Arly considering the accelerated timeline, the time traveler observed. Though I must admit, even I didn't anticipate how quickly the convergence would compress. You could have mentioned the avalanche effect earlier, Ben noted dryly. Paradox smiled enigmatically. Some revelations must be earned through experience rather than instruction. His expression grew more serious. But I haven't appeared merely to commend your efforts. The final convergence presents complications beyond Eclipse's ambitions. Define complications, Julie requested, ship flowing protectively around her shoulders. Interdimensional collapse, Paradox answered simply. The cosmic reset isn't merely a restructuring of universal constants, it's a fundamental realignment of multiversal boundaries. Without proper stabilization, the convergence could erase the barriers between realities entirely. The gravity of his statement settled over the group like the pervasive Transylvanian mist. And I'm guessing that's bad, Ben ventured. Catastrophic would be a more accurate term, Paradox corrected. Imagine every parallel timeline suddenly occupying the same space, every possible version of reality attempting to exist simultaneously. Matter-energy conversion on an impossible scale, Shar translated, her analytical mind grasping the implications immediately. Total entropic dissolution of dimensional integrity. The end of everything, Ester summarized more plainly. Paradox nodded. Which is why the celestial Omnitrix was designed with 13 specific transformations, each corresponding to a fundament. Cosmic constant that requires calibration during the reset. Ben studied the device on his wrist with newfound respect and trepidation. So no pressure. Just have to master 4 more alien forms and save the entire multiverse. While preventing Eclipse from seizing control, Julie added. Indeed, Paradox confirmed. Though I suspect Lord Eclipse's motivations may not be entirely as they appear. Before he could elaborate, the celestial Omnitrix pulsed with unexpected intensity. Concentric rings of cosmic energy expanded outward from its surface, creating a holographic display that encircled the tower. Star maps and cosmic coordinates materialized in the air around them, focusing finally on a single point that glowed with unusual brilliance. The Anor Transil system, Shar identified immediately. Recognizing the celestial configuration, home to Zescaer's species and several other photosensitive races, and the location of the next nexus point, Paradox confirmed. The Anor Trans YL nexus exists in quantum superposition, simultaneously present in its native system and here on Earth, specifically beneath this very castle. That explains the vampire legends, Ben realized. Le weren't seeing supernatural creatures. They were witnessing interdimensional bleed-through from the Anor system. Paradox smiled approvingly. Precisely. The castle was built at this location because of the Nexus. Not the other way around. Medieval humans interpreted the quantum phenomena through a supernatural lens. The holographic display shifted, zooming into the castle's foundations to rev. A chamber deep below their position. A perfect circular room with 13 pillars arranged around a central platform. Identical in structure to the Atacama site but composed of different materials. The next activation begins in 17 minutes, Paradox announced, checking his watch. I would recommend preparing yourselves accordingly. With those words, he vanished in his customary flash of blue light. 17 minutes to prepare for the 10th Nexus, Julie said, already activating ship's combat configuration. So much for a rest period. Ben examined the celestial Omnitrix, which now displayed 10 distinct silhouettes, the 9 transformations he'd already unlocked, plus a 10th that pulsed with greater intensity than the others. I think the Omnitrix has already selected the next transformation. Something specifically suited to the Anor Transil Nexus. Photosensitive environment, Shar noted, checking her tactical gear. Logical adaptation would incorporate spectral manipulation capabilities. Only one way to find out, Ben replied, heading toward the tower stairs. Let's find that chamber. The descent into the castle's depths took them through passages that grew increasingly alien with each level. Ancient stone gradually gave way to crystalline structures that absorbed rather than reflected light. The air itself thickened, carrying unfamiliar scents and subtle L.C. trickle charges that raised the hair on their arms. Dimensional boundary thinning, Shar observed, her scanner struggling to maintain coherent readings. We're simultaneously occupying Earth space and Anor Transal space. Ester extended a hand toward the nearest wall, then pulled back sharply. Temperature variance exceeds normal parameters. These surfaces exist at different thermal states simultaneously. Ships having trouble maintaining molecular cohesion, Julie added, the mechamorph's form rippling with unusual patterns as he attempted to adapt. The quantum fluctuations are interfering with his structural integrity. Ben felt the celestial Omnitrix growing warmer against his skin, resonating with the environment's shifting properties. We're close. The device is responding to the Nexus energy. They rounded a final corner to face an archway that defied conventional geometry, its curves bending inward at impossible angles while somehow remaining structurally stable. Beyond it lay darkness so profound it seemed to consume the light from their portable illuminators. The Nexus chamber, Ben confirmed, feeling the Omnitrix pulse in confirmation. Ester generated thermal energy that surrounded her body in a protective aura, providing both light and heat as they approached the threshold. Once we enter, maintain physical contact. Dimensional shifting could separate us if we're not careful. Shar unholstered her weapon, activating its auxiliary functions. Quantum tether established. This should maintain our relative positions regardless of spatial distortions. Ship connects. Tend a protective membrane between us as backup, Julie suggested, the alien flowing partially around her arm in demonstration. Ben nodded, appreciating their preparedness. Ready, on 3, 1, 2. Before he reached 3. The darkness beyond the archway surged outward like a living entity, engulfing the passage around them. The temperature plummeted instantly, frost crystallizing on exposed surfaces. Sound distorted, their startled exclamations stretching into unrecognizable frequencies before fading entirely. When Ben's vision adjusted, he found himself standing alone in what read to be the Nexus chamber, but transformed into something far more alien than the previous sights. The 13 pillars were composed of what looked like solidified darkness, each one emitting negative light that defined its shape by the absence of illumination rather than its presence. Julie, Ester, Shar, Ben called, his voice sounding flat and lifeless in the peculiar acoustics. No response came, though the celestial Omnitrix pulsed with increased urgency, projecting a faint constellation pattern that illuminated several feet around him. By this minimal light, Ben discerned movement at the chamber's perimeter, shadowy figures that seemed to phase in and out of visibility. Okay, definitely not alone, he muttered, reaching for the Omnitrix dial. Time for some illumination. The transfo, Martian energy flowed through him with unusual resistance, as if the chamber's properties opposed the process. Green light struggled against the pervasive darkness, momentarily creating a spectacular conflict of opposing forces before the transformation completed. Ben emerged in a form unlike any previous celestial transformation. His body appeared composed of pure spectral energy, a being of living G-light that shifted through all visible wavelengths and beyond. His core blazed with white brilliance while his outer form radiated in prismatic waves that pushed back the chamber's darkness. Whoa, he breathed, his voice resonating across multiple frequencies simultaneously. This is intense. Let's call this one Spectranova. The shadowy figures at the chamber's edge recoiled from his radiance, revealing themselves as ectonorites, Zscaer's species, though smaller and less defined than Ben's longtime adversary. They hissed in frequencies beyond normal hearing, their singular eyes narrowing against Spectranova's brilliance. Sorry about the light show, Ben apologized, realizing these beings weren't necessarily hostile, merely photosensitive. I'm looking for my friends. 3 females who entered with me. One ectonorite drifted slightly forward, its form wavering like smoke in wind. The others exist in parallel phase space, it explained, its voice a whisper that seemed to bypass Ben's auditory system and manifest directly in his consciousness. This nexus operates across multiple dimensional planes simultaneously. Each visitor perceives only the plane resonant with their quantum signature. So they're here, just out of phase with me. Ben clarified. Correct. The celestial bearer always walks alone through the spectral nexus. The Ectenorite gestured toward the chamber's center, where a platform of the same negative light material supported a nexus key identical to those from previous sites. The test requires isolation. Test. Ben repeated, a sinking feeling enveloping in what would have been his stomach if Spectranova possessed conventional anatomy. Each nexus presents a specific challenge to the celestial bearer, the Ectenorite explained. The NSYL nexus tests perception beyond physical limitations. Before Ben could request clarification, the chamber's dimensions seemed to shift. The pillars reconfigured their positions while the floor beneath him became transparent, revealing countless layers of reality stacked below like pages in a cosmic book. Through Spectranova's enhanced perception, Ben witnessed his companions experiencing their own versions of the chamber. Julie, protected by ship's adaptive form, navigated a variation filled with technological interfaces beyond human design. Ester confronted a chamber composed entirely of thermal energy gradients, her chronophysiology allowing her to interpret temperature variations as solid structures. Shar moved through a militaristic configuration, the chamber presenting tactical scenarios that shifted with each decision she made. They're being tested too, Ben realized. All who enter the spectral nexus face trials appropriate to their nature, the Ectenorite confirmed. But only the celestial bearer can unite the fragmented perceptions into coherent wholeness. Ben studied the nexus key floating at the chamber's center. And I'm guessing that's where this comes in. The Ectenorite inclined its shadowy head. The key responds only to one who can perceive across all spectral planes simultaneously. Ben considered the challenge. Spectranova's form consisted of pure spectral energy, theoretically capable of operating across all wavelengths, but currently limited by his understanding of the transformation. He needed to expand his perception beyond visible light, beyond even the electromagnetic spectrum. Concentrating, Ben allowed Spectranova's consciousness to guide him. The transformation wasn't just about manipulating light, it was about perceiving reality through every possible wavelength simultaneously. Gradually, his awareness expanded, perception shifting to include infrared, ultraviolet, radio waves, cosmic radiation, and energies that had no human classification. The chamber transformed as his perception broadened. What had appeared as solid structures revealed themselves as intersections of multiple realities, each one valid from a particular observational framework. The Ectenorites themselves existed across several dimensional phases simultaneously, their true forms far more complex than their shadowy appearance suggested. Most importantly, Ben could now perceive his companions clearly, each navigating their personalized version of the chamber, approaching what appeared to be different manifestations of the same nexus key. I can see them, Ben announced, the spectral energy of his form pulsing with excitement. But they can't see each other, or me. The final challenge remains, the Ectenorite reminded him. The key must be synchronized across all perceptual planes simultaneously. Ben understood what needed to be done. Extending Spectranova's energy, he created bridges of spectral force that connected his reality with those of his companions. The effect was subtle at first, just enough that Julie, Ester, and Shar paused in their individual challenges, sensing something beyond their immediate perception. Julie, Ester, Shar, I know you can't fully see or hear me. But I need you to follow my signal, Ben called, modulating Spectranova's energy to transmit across all spectral bands. Focus on the nexus key from your perspective. Through the spectral bridges, Ben sensed their awareness of his presence. Ship reconfigured around Julie, enhancing her perception. Ester's thermal sensitivity allowed her to detect the energy patterns connecting their realities. Shar's analytical mind quickly grasped the multidimensional implications. As each woman focused on her version of the nexus key, Ben established the final connections, creating a quantum resonance that synchronized their four separate perspectives. The nexus keys, revealed now as different manifestations of the same cosmic entity, began to align across dimensional boundaries. Now, Ben directed, channeling Spectranova's energy into a focused beam that struck the unified nexus key. The reaction was immediate and spectacular. The key absorbed the spectral energy, amplifying it exponentially before releasing a pulse that harmonized the chamber's fractured realities. Dimensional boundaries reasserted themselves as the perceptual planes realigned into a single coherent space. When the process completed, All four stood together in the center of the Nexus chamber, the structure now appearing as a blend of their individual perceptions. Technological interfaces F. Rom Julie's vision merged with thermal conduits from Ester's reality and tactical displays from Shar's experience, all integrated within the spectral architecture Ben had witnessed. That, Julie declared, shaking her head to clear lingering disorientation, was the strangest thing I've ever experienced. And considering my dating history, that's saying something. Ben laughed as the Omnitrix timed out, returning him to human form. How much did you perceive? Fragmented realities, Shar answered, holstering her weapon. The chamber exists simultaneously in multiple dimensional phases. I Sue. LD feel the thermal variations between dimensions, Ester added. Like overlapping thermal maps with conflicting hotspots. Ship detected the quantum fluctuations, Julie explained. But it was like trying to tune into 1,000 radio stations at once. Until you established the connection. The Nexus key, now stabilized at the chamber's center, pulsed with synchronized energy before projecting a cosmic map similar to previous sites. This display, however, showed the remaining Nexus points with greater clarity, revealing their connections to the grand cosmic Nexus beneath Mount Rushmore. 3 more transformations to unlock, Ben noted, studying the map, and less than 20 hours until the final convergence. The timeline continues to accelerate, Shar observed. We should proceed immediately to the next Nexus location. Before anyone could respond, a ripple of shadow energy disturbed the chamber's newly stabilized equilibrium. Lord Eclipse materialized from darkness, his starry form more substantial than during previous encounters. He studied the activated Nexus key with an expression combining surprise and reluctant admiration. The spectral Nexus typically requires centuries of preparation to master, he noted. His resonant voice echoing through the chamber. Yet you accomplished it in minutes. Ben stepped forward, positioning himself between Eclipse and the others. Abe the original system underestimated human adaptability. Or perhaps, Eclipse countered, the celestial Omnitrix is compensating for your limitations. His starry gaze shifted to include Julie, Ester, and Shar. Though I admit your companions have proven unexpectedly capable. We're more than companions, Ester replied firmly. We're essential components of the balance you claim to protect. Eclipse's expression hardened, a convenient interpretation. Yet the Cosmosapiens designed the convergence protocols for beings of elevated consciousness, not. He gestured dismissively. Mortals. Julie supplied, ship flowing protectively around her shoulders. And yet here we are, activating Nexus points that apparently required your elevated consciousness, centuries to master. For a moment, Eclipse seemed genuinely taken aback by her boldness. Then his starry eyes narrowed. Your success thus far proves nothing. The grand cosmic Nexus requires perfect synchronization of all 13 convergence elements. Without unified control, the reset sequence will cascade into dimensional collapse. Which brings us to an impasse, Ben observed. You want unilateral control, we believe in shared responsibility. Not an impasse, Eclipse corrected. A foregone conclusion. I have collected 9 Nexus keys. You possess 4. When the final convergence activates, mathematical reality favors my approach. Shar stepped forward, her analytical mind already calculating alternatives. Unless we establish a balanced synchronization protocol that accommodates both methodologies. Eclipse paused, studying her with newfound interest. Explain. The Nexus keys respond to quantum entanglement principles, Shar elaborated. Theoretical models suggest mutual synchronization could be established without transferring control. For a brief moment, something like hope flickered across Eclipse's features, quickly replaced by practiced cynicism. A desperate theory from limited understanding. The risk outweighs any potential benefit. Then why haven't you attacked us? Ben challenged. You've had multiple opportunities to eliminate us and take the celestial Omnitrix. Instead, you observe, debate, and withdraw. Eclipse's form darkened slightly. My restraint shouldn't be mistaken for uncertainty. Or maybe, Julie suggested carefully, after thousands of years believing you're the only one who can handle the convergence. You're actually relieved to find alternatives. The cosmic entity remained silent, his starry eyes studying each of them in turn. Finally, he spoke with measured precision. I have witnessed 17 convergence cycles across multiple universal iterations. In every instance, distributed control led to dimensional fracturing. But you've never encountered the celestial Omnitrix before. Ben pointed out. It's the missing component, designed specifically to harmonize multiple perspectives. Eclipse considered this possibility, ancient certainty visibly conflicting with new evidence. The final nexus activates in 18 hours, he said finally. 3 more transformations remain unlocked. If you can master them before the grand cosmic nexus initiates, I will consider your proposed synchronization. Without waiting for response, his form dissolved into shadow, vanishing from the chamber. Did we just make progress with the cosmic doomsday guy? Ben asked, surprised by the almost concession. Tactical uncertainty, Shar analyzed. He recognizes unfamiliar variables in our approach. He's lonely, Ester said more simply. Thousands of years as He's sole guardian of cosmic balance. Anyone would question their perspective eventually. Julie nodded thoughtfully. The real question is whether we can deliver on our promise. 3 transformations in 18 hours. Plus developing a synchronization protocol for the final convergence. Ben looked down at the celestial Omnitrix, its surface displaying the constellation map leading to Mount Rushmore. No pressure. The journey to the next nexus point took them across the Atlantic to a location Ben knew intimately. La Soledad, the abandoned military base in the New Mexico desert where Paradox had first appeared years earlier. The installation's distinctive architecture came into view as ship descended through cloud cover, its adaptive camouflage engaged to avoid detection. Time distortion increasing exponentially, Shar reported as they approached. Chronometric variance exceeds standard parameters. La Soledad has always been a temporal hotspot, Ben explained, watching the familiar buildings shimmer with unusual energy. Something about the military experiments they conducted here weakened the boundaries between time streams. Ship settled onto the desert floor half a kilometer from the main complex. As they disembarked, the air around them seemed to vibrate with potential, reality itself bending slightly at the edges of perception. Occasional flashes revealed glimpses of loss. Soledad as it existed in different time periods, under construction in the 1950s, abandoned in the present, and unfamiliar configurations suggesting possible futures. The celestial Omnitrix pulsed with corresponding energy, its display shifting to show a new transformation silhouette, a humanoid figure composed of what appeared to be flowing temporal energy. The time nexus, Ben murmured, feeling. The Omnitrix synchronizing with the location's unique properties. Makes sense given La Soledad's history. Chronoton radiation levels approaching critical threshold, Shar warned, her scanner displaying alarming readings. Unprotected exposure could result in temporal displacement. Ship can generate a chronoton-resistant field, Julie offered, the mechamorph flowing around all 4 of them to create a protective bubble. It won't last indefinitely, but it should get us to the nexus point. Protected by Ship's adaptive form, they proceeded toward the central research facility, the epicenter of temporal distortions. As they approached, the boundary between time streams became increasingly unstable. Buildings flickered between states of construction, decay, and configurations that defied architectural possibility. The nexus is accelerating local time dilation, Ester observed, noting how desert plants around them cycled rapidly through growth, flowering, and decay. We're experiencing multiple temporal frames simultaneously. The research facility's main door stood before them, or rather, multiple versions of the same door overlapping in quantum uncertainty. Ship's protective field wavered slightly as they approached, the chronoton energy overwhelming even his adaptive capabilities. I need to transform, Ben decided, the celestial Omnitrix already cycling to the new silhouette. Ship can't maintain the field much longer. Proceed, Shar confirmed, her scanner indicating critical temporal instability. Transformation may stabilize local chronometric variance. Ben activated the Omnitrix, embracing the transformation energy as it flowed through him. This time, the process felt strangely elongated, as if occurring across multiple timeframes simultaneously. Green light X panded outward before contracting inward, reality bending around the conversion process. When the transformation completed, Ben stood converted into a being composed of flowing temporal energy. His foe, maintained humanoid shape but appeared to exist slightly out of sync with conventional reality, afterimages trailing his movements as they persisted across multiple timeframes. Clock-like mechanisms manifested within his chest, regulating the temporal energy flowing through his ethereal body. Chronoshift, Ben named himself, voice echoing from both past and future simultaneously. I can perceive across multiple time streams. The transformation immediately stabilized the temporal fluctuations around them, creating a bubble of coherent spacetime that allowed Ship to retract his protective field. Through Chronoshift's enhanced perception, Ben witnessed Lost Soledad as it existed throughout its history, from empty desert to military installation to abandoned facility, all superimposed like transparent slides. More importantly, he could now see the Nexus Point itself, a perfect sphere of concentrated temporal energy suspended within the research facility's central chamber, visible only to T.Hos capable of perceiving across time streams. The time nexus is active, Ben announced, pointing toward the building. But it exists partially outside conventional time. You won't be able to perceive it without assistance. Ship can adapt to your temporal frequency, Julie suggested, the mechamorph flowing partially around her companions to establish connection. And I can extend Chronoshift's perception field, Ben added, focusing the temporal energy flowing through his transformed body. By synchronizing their approaches, they created a stable pathway into the facility. Inside, the central chamber appeared vastly different from conventional architecture, its dimensions extending beyond physical space into temporal domains. The walls displayed the facility's entire history simultaneously, from blueprint to construction to eventual decay centuries in the future. At the chamber's center floated the Nexus Key, a sphere of concentrated temporal energy that existed in all timeframes simultaneously. Its surface displaying constantly shifting chronometric equations. Extraordinary, Shar breathed, her scanner completely overwhelmed by the temporal mathematics manifest before them. The K.E.Y. operates on quantum chronodynamic principles theorized but never confirmed. I'm detecting thermal signatures from multiple temporal frames, Ester added, her enhanced sensitivity registering temperature patterns invisible to others. Past, present, and potential futures all generating distinct thermal maps. Julie studied the temporal equations flowing across the key's surface. Ship recognizes some of these patterns. They're similar to coordinates, not just locations in space, but positions in time. Ben approached the key cautiously, Chronoshift's form resonating with its temporal frequency. I think I understand this transformation's purpose now. Chronoshift doesn't just perceive different timeframes, it can synchronize them. As if confirming his realization, the clock-like mechanism within Chronoshift's chest began aligning with the equations displayed on the Nexus Key. Ben felt his consciousness expanding beyond linear time, perceiving events not as sequential occurrences but as simultaneous expressions of probability. Through this enhanced awareness, he suddenly understood Eclipse's perspective with newfound clarity. The cosmic entity had witnessed countless convergence cycles, each one attempting to reset universal constants that inevitably degraded. His determination came not from megalomania but from witnessing repeated failures of distributed control. Guys, Ben said slowly, the revelation settling through him. I think Eclipse might be right about unified control being necessary. What? Julie responded, surprised by the sudden shift. Not about him being the controller, Ben clarified quickly, but about the need for synchronized direction during the reset. Chronoshift is showing me previous convergence attempts across multiple time streams. When Contour-OL was distributed without proper harmonization, the reset failed catastrophically. Shar considered this information with tactical precision. This aligns with my theoretical model. Synchronization P. Protocols would be essential regardless of whether control is unified or distributed. So we need both approaches, Ester concluded. Eclipse's unified perspective combined with our diverse contributions. Ben nodded, Chronoshift's form pulsing with temporal energy as he reached toward the Nexus Key. I think that's what the celestial Omnitrix was designed for, not to replace distributed control but to harmonize it. As his transformed hand made contact with the key, temporal energy flowed between them in both directions. The key transmitted its accumulated chronometric data into the Omnitrix W, while simultaneously receiving synchronization parameters from Chronoshift's temporal mechanics. The process completed with a pulse of energy that momentarily froze time throughout Lost Soledad. When temporal flow resumed, the Nexus Key had integrated with the Omnitrix's systems, adding its chronodynamic capabilities to the device's growing cosmic toolkit. 11 down, 2 to go, Ben noted as the Omnitrix timed out, returning him to human form. And according to the temporal coordinates I just received, the 12th Nexus activates in 3 hours at Friedkin University. The School of Magic? Julie asked with surprise. Ben nodded. Apparently magical energy is just another cosmic constant requiring calibration during the convergence. Logical, Shar concluded. Mana represents a fundament, force within multidimensional physics, often manifesting as what humans interpret as magic. 3 hours gives us minimal preparation time, Ester noted. And we're still developing the synchronization protocol for the final convergence. Ben checked the celestial Omnitrix, which now displayed a countdown to the grand cosmic nexus activation. Let's head to Friedkin. I'll contact Gwen while we're en route. Her expertise will be invaluable for the magical nexus. As they exited the facility, the temporal distortions had stabilized into a single coherent timeframe, though occasional ripples suggested the effect was temporary. Ship reconfigured into his spacecraft form, adapting his propulsion systems to incorporate the chronometric data from the time nexus. Dimensional shortcuts calibrated with temporal coordinates. Julie announced as they boarded. Estimated arrival at Friedkin University in 37 minutes. Ben settled into his seat, mind racing with the implications of what Chronoshift had revealed. The convergence was more complex than Eclipse had explained, not just a reset of universal constants but a fundamental rebalancing of multidimensional stability. Without proper harmonization, the process could indeed cascade into total cosmic collapse. For the first time since discovering the celestial Omnitrix, Ben felt the full weight of responsibility settling around him. This wasn't just another alien invasion or mad scientist scheme, it was the structural integrity of reality itself hanging in the balance. Friedkin University's campus shimmered with arcane energy as ships settled onto the central quad. Unlike the previous Nexus locations, this site showed no signs of dimensional instability or environmental distortion. Instead, the magical nexus manifested as a subtle enhancement of the university's inherent mystical properties, colors appearing slightly more vibrant, sounds carrying unusual harmonic qualities, and the very air tasting faintly of ozone and possibility. Gwen Tennyson awaited them at the landing site, her anodite heritage allowing her to perceive the cosmic energies surrounding her cousin. Dressed in her usual collegiate attire but with her spell book tucked under one arm, she projected the confident composure that had always complemented Ben's more impulsive nature. "You certainly know how to make an entrance," she greeted as they disembarked. The magical community detected the celestial convergence 3 days ago. Half the faculty is in panic mode, the other half is running experiments. "Sorry for the short notice," Ben replied, embracing his cousin briefly. "Things have been accelerating faster than we expected." Gwen studied the transformed Omnitrix with evident fascination. Professor Hex recognized the cosmic patterns immediately. He's been researching convergence events for decades. Apparently they leave magical residue that can be detected centuries later. "Has he located the nexus point?" Shar inquired, her tact. Ical mind focused on their diminishing timeline. "The central library," Gwen confirmed, gesturing toward an imposing Gothic structure at the campus heart. The university was built around it, not the other way around. The original foundation stones contain runework dating back to prehistoric civilizations. As they approached the library, Ben introduced Gwen to Esther and reacquainted her with Shar. Julie and Gwen exchanged knowing looks that made Ben slightly uncomfortable, as if sharing unspoken observations about him that he'd rather not decipher. The library's massive doors opened automatically as they approached, responding to the celestial Omnitrix's energy signature. Inside, the architecture defied conventional space, bookshelves extending impossibly upward while corridors twisted in non-Euclidean configurations. Students and faculty moved through the space with practiced ease, apparently accustomed to the library's spatial peculiarities. "The Nexus chamber is beneath the central reading room," Gwen explained, leading them through the arcane labyrinth. Access normally requires specific magical credentials, but the convergence has temporarily altered the permissions. They ended a spiral staircase that seemed to curve both downward and inward simultaneously, eventually arriving at an ancient wooden door inscribed with symbols from dozens of magical traditions. The Celles. Teal Omnitrix pulsed with corresponding energy, its display shifting to reveal the 12th transformation silhouette, a figure composed of what appeared to be pure mana. "The magical nexus," Ben murmured, feeling the Omnitrix synchronizing with the location's mystical properties. Gwen placed her palm against the door, channeling her anodite energy to establish resonance with the protection wards. Quote, "The chamber recognizes the convergence sequence. It's granting access to the celestial bearer and companions." The door dissolved into particles of golden light, revealing a chamber unlike any they had encountered previously. Where technological and temporal nexus points had featured structured architecture, the magical nexus existed as a garden of impossible beauty, living plants composed of pure mana growing in patterns that formed multidimensional equations, their blossoms opening and closing in precise magical cadence. At the garden's center grew a tree of crystallized magical energy, its branches extending through conceptual as well as physical space. Among its luminous foliage hung a single perfect fruit, the 12th Nexus key, pulsing with arcane power. "It's beautiful," Ester breathed, her thermal senses detecting the harmonious energy flows throughout the garden. "And incredibly dangerous," Gwen cautioned. "The magical nexus operates on emotional and conceptual frequencies as much as physical ones. Your intentions affect its manifestation directly." Ben approached the crystalline tree carefully, the Omnitrix pulsing in rhythm with its ethereal heartbeat. "I'm guessing I need to transform to access the key." Gwen nodded. "The Nexus key can only be perceived completely through mana-attuned consciousness. Your new transformation should provide that perspective." Ben activated the Omnitrix, embracing the transformation energy as it flowed through him. This time, the process felt like liquid light pouring into his very being, restructuring his consciousness before reforming his physical shape. Green energy intermingled with magenta mana, creating a synthesis of technological and magical power. When the transformation completed, Ben had become a being of pure magical energy, his form resembling an anodite but with distinct differences. Where anodites manifested as beings of solid energy, this form existed as a constantly flowing pattern of mana currents, magical bowls and equations flowing across his surface like living calligraphy. His eyes glowed with inner light that shifted between colors representing different magical disciplines. "Manifest," Ben named himself, voice resonating with harmonic overtones that caused the garden's mana plants to vibrate in sympathy. "I can perceive magical energy at its fundamental level." Through Manifest's enhanced awareness, Ben witnessed the true nature of the magical nexus, not just a garden but a living spell of cosmic proportions, maintaining the balance between order and chaos throughout multiple dimensions. The Nexus key revealed itself as the spell's focal point, containing the mathematical constants that governed magic's interaction with physical reality. The key is a spell compiler, Ben realized, understanding flowing through his transformed consciousness. It translates intent into cosmic action during the convergence reset. Gwen nodded, her anodite heritage allowing her to partially perceive what Ben witnessed fully. Magic is ultimately about imposing will upon reality. During convergence, that principle applies on a universal scale, which explains Eclipse's insistence on unified control, Shar noted. Conflicting intentions during the reset could produce catastrophic results. But also why diversity matters, Julie added, ship flowing around her to interface with the magical energies in his own unique way. A single perspective lacks necessary counterbalances. Ben approached the crystalline tree, Manifest's flowing energy patterns synchronizing with its arcane structure. As he reached for the Nexus key, the tree's branches shifted, not defensively but responsively, adjusting to accommodate his magical signature. "It's accepting me," Ben observed with surprise. "Almost like it's been waiting." "The convergence preparation has been underway for centuries," Gwen explained. Each nexus point gradually aligning for this specific moment in cosmic time. As Ben's transformed hand touched the Nexus key, magical energy flowed between them in a spectacular display of arcane power. The key transmitted its accumulated magical knowledge into the Omnitrix while simultaneously receiving harmonization parameters from Manifest's mana patterns. The process completed with a pulse of energy that caused every plant in the garden to bloom simultaneously, filling the chamber with the sweet scent of magical potential. The Nexus key dissolved into particles of light that integrated with the celestial Omnitrix, adding its arcane capabilities to the device's cosmic toolkit. 12 down, 1 to go, Ben noted as the transformation maintained itself, Manifest's form continuing to flow with magical energy. "And according to the arcane coordinates I'm receiving, the final transformation awaits at Mount Rushmore. The Grand Cosmic Nexus activates in 93 minutes, Shar reported, checking her scanner. Minimal preparation time remains. Gwen's expression grew serious. Ben, the magical knowledge you've absorbed, does it reveal anything about the final convergence? Through Manifest's enhanced perception, Ben sifted through the arcane information flowing through his consciousness. The 13th transformation is the key to everything. It doesn't just unlock a new alien form, it establishes the harmonization matrix for all 13 cosmic constants. A unified field theory made manifest, Shar translated, her analytical mind grasping the implications. Fascinating, and potentially catastrophic if improperly applied, Gwen cautioned. Magical energy responds to intention and emotion. The same principle likely applies to all cosmic constants during convergence. Ben nodded, Manifest's form pulsing with understanding. Which means my state of mind during the final transformation could literally reshape reality. The weight of this realization settled over the group, rendering them momentarily silent. The responsibility transcended heroism or even cosmic duty. It approached something almost divine in its implications. You won't face it alone, Julie said finally, breaking the silence. We'll be there to help maintain balance. All of us, Ester affirmed, her steady presence a grounding force amid the swirling magical energies. Shar nodded agreement. Tactical support confirmed. Gwen placed a hand on her cousin's luminous shoulder. I'm coming too. The magical nexus has been activated, but its energy still requires stabilization during the convergence. Ben felt profound gratitude flowing through Manifest's magical consciousness. Then let's finish this together. The Omnitrix timed out, returning Ben to human form as they prepared to depart. Ship reconfigured into his spacecraft form, adapting his systems to incorporate the magical data from the Nexus. With Gwen joining their group, they boarded for the final journey to Mount Rushmore, and the ultimate convergence that awaited them. The iconic presidential faces of Mount Rushmore loomed against the twilight sky, illuminated by floodlights that cast dramatic shadows across their weathered features. Yet to the enhanced perception of those approaching the monument, another light soared. Competed with the artificial illumination, cosmic energy pulsing from deep within the mountain itself, visible only to those attuned to its frequency. Ship settled onto a restricted access platform Alf hidden among the pine trees behind the monument. As they disembarked, Ben immediately sensed the overwhelming cosmic power emanating from beneath the historic landmark, all 13 Nexus energies converging toward a single point below the mountain's surface. The celestial Omnitrix pulsed with corresponding intensity, its surface now displaying 12 activated transformation silhouettes arraying in a circle around a 13th that remained dormant but radiating potential. The final transformation, Ben murmured, studying the mysterious silhouette. Unlike the previous 12, which had clearly defined forms, this one shifted constantly, as if unable to settle on a single configuration. Plummer scanners detect massive energy convergence beneath the original base, Shar reported, her equipment struggling with the readings. All cosmic constants simultaneously present at a single focal point. And we're not the only ones who've arrived, Gwen noted, her magical senses detecting additional presences. Eclipse is already inside, along with at least 7 others. His collection team, Julie surmised. The ones who gathered the Nexus keys for him. Ben nodded grimly, meaning we're outnumbered. Numerical disadvantage can be overcome through superior positioning and tactical approach, Shar observed with typical pragmatism. Ester studied the mountain's thermal signature, her Kraho abilities detecting heat patterns invisible to others. There's an access point 200 meters northeast of our position. Recently used, based on residual thermal traces. The old emergency exit, Ben confirmed, recognizing the location from previous visits to the Plummer base. It should bypass most security systems, especially given their current overload from the convergence energy. They proceeded through dense pine forest toward the hidden entrance, each step bringing them closer to the pulsing cosmic power. The air itself seemed to thicken with potential, reality-bending slig. HTLY around them as dimensional boundaries grew increasingly permeable. The entrance appeared as a simple rock formation until Gwen applied her anodite energy, revealing the concealed access panel. Ship flowed into the electronic lock, bypassing security protocols to grant them entry. The door slid open silently, revealing a sloping passage that descended deep into the mountain's heart. As they navigated the dimly lit corridor, Ben felt the celestial Omnitrix growing increasingly responsive to their proximity to the grand cosmic nexus. The device pulsed with anticipation, occasional holography. See projections flickering above its surface to display convergence calculations too complex for human comprehension. The passage eventually opened into a vast chamber that defied the mountain's apparent dimensions, an impossible space that seemed to exist partially outside conventional reality. The original plumber base architecture remained visible along the perimeter, but the chamber's center had transformed into something entirely alien. 13 pillars of pure cosmic energy arranged in a perfect circle surrounded a raised platform, upon which rested a device of incomprehensible complexity. Similar in basic structure to the Omnitrix but vastly larger, the device pulsed with energy corresponding to each nexus point they had activated. Standing before the platform, Lord Eclipse directed Venn diverse alien beings as they positioned nexus keys around the device's perimeter. Each assistant represented a different species, their forms suggesting adaptation to specific cosmic functions. E.C. Lips himself appeared more substantial than in previous encounters, his shadowy form solidifying as the convergence approached completion. The celestial regulator, Ben whispered, recognizing the device from knowledge transferred during previous transformations. The control mechanism for the entire cosmic reset. Eclipse turned as they entered, his starry eyes narrowing at their presence. Tennyson, you arrive at the precipice of universal reformation. I must admit, your persistence is admirable if ultimately futile. Ben stepped forward, the Omnitrix pulsing in response to the regulator's proximity. We completed all 12 transformations, Eclipse. As agreed, we should discuss synchronization protocols before the final convergence. Eclipse studied him thoughtfully, genuine curiosity visible beneath his cosmic arrogance. Indeed you have, a remarkable achievement for beings of your limited cosmic perspective. He gestured toward the regulator. You may approach. The convergence timeline permits brief consultation before final activation. As they moved closer to the platform, the chamber's impossible dimensions became more apparent. The ceiling opened to reveal not the mountain's interior but a direct view of cosmic space, stars, galaxies, and nebulae visible in spectacular clarity despite their underground location. The grand cosmic nexus exists at the junction point between multiple dimensional planes. Eclipse explained, noting their wonder. What you perceive is reality without the filters of conventional spacetime. Ben studied the celestial regulator with growing understanding. The device coordinates all 13 cosmic constants during the reset sequence. Each nexus key provides calibration parameters for a specific universal function. Eclipse nodded, seemingly impressed by Ben's comprehension. Precisely. Gravity, electromagnetism, strong and weak nuclear forces, chronodynamic progression, mana flow, spectral coherence, dimensional integrity. He gestured to each key in sequence. All must be recalibrated simultaneously to prevent universal decay. And the 13th transformation? Ben asked, indicating the final silhouette on the Omnitrix's display. What role does it play? The harmonic integrator, Eclipse answered, his tone shifting to something approaching reverence. The final transformation establishes resonance patterns between all cosmic constants, ensuring they remain synchronized during and after the reset sequence. Shar stepped forward, her analytical mind processing the implications. Our proposed synchronization protocol would establish quantum entanglement between your unified direction and our diversified perspective. Eclipse considered her suggestion with surprising openness. Theoretically viable, but practically untested. Previous convergences have demonstrated the catastrophic potential of divided control. Previous convergences didn't have the celestial Omnitrix, Gwen countered, her anodite senses. Perceiving the magical patterns flowing through the chamber. Its harmonic functions were specifically designed for multi-perspective integration. For a moment, Eclipse seemed genuinely conflicted, and uncertainty warring with new evidence. Before he could respond, the chamber trembled as cosmic energy surged through the 13 pillars. The celestial regulator activated automatically, its components rotating into alignment as the convergence timeline reached critical threshold. The decision point has arrived, Eclipse announced, turning toward the regulator. The reset sequence initiates in 3 minutes. Final positions must be established. Ben felt the celestial Omnitrix pulse with unprecedented intensity, the 13th silhouette glowing brighter as activation approached. What happens if I transform now? Before the sequence completes, Eclipse's expression darkened. Premature harmonization could destabilize the entire convergence. The 13th transformation must occur precisely as the regulator reaches synchronization lock. Or, Ben pressed, sensing Eclipse wasn't revealing everything. Or reality itself fragments beyond repair, the cosmic entity admitted reluctantly. The harmonic integrator controls dimensional cohesion during the reset. Without proper synchronization, universal boundaries dissolve permanently. The chamber trembled again, cosmic energy intensifying as the convergence accelerated. Eclipse's 7 assistants took positions around the regulator, each connecting to a specific nexus key through technologies beyond human comprehension. You must decide, Tennyson, Eclipse urged. Genuine urgency in his voice. Accept my direction during the reset, or risk multiversal collapse through divided control. Ben looked toward his companions, Julie's unwavering support, Esther's quiet strength, Shar's tactical precision, Gwen's magical insight, each representing a different perspective yet united in purpose. The answer suddenly seemed obvious. Neither option works, Ben declared. Unilateral control lacks necessary perspective, while divided direction risks desynchronization. We need synthesis, not compromise. Impossible, Eclipse dismissed. The regulator cannot integrate multiple consciousness streams without harmony matrix precalibration. But the celestial Omnitrix can, Ben countered, understanding flowing through him as pieces aligned in his mind. That's its true purpose, not just transformation but integration. Before Eclipse could respond, Ben activated the Omnitrix, selecting the 13th silhouette as cosmic energy surged through the chamber. The transformation process began differently than all previous conversions. Instead of energy flowing outward from the Omnitrix, power streamed inward from all 13 pillars simultaneously. Converging on Ben's form, the sensation transcended physical experience, his consciousness expanding exponentially as the transformation rewrote not just his DNA but his fundamental relationship to reality itself. Green light intermingled with every cosmic energy they had encountered, creating something entirely new yet somehow primordial. When the transformation completed, Ben had become a being of pure harmonic energy, his form composed of interlocking fields of cosmic force that represented all 13 universal constants simultaneously. Neither solid nor ethereal, his die existed as perfect balance between all fundamental forces, continuously adjusting to maintain universal equilibrium. Harmonia, Ben named himself, voice resonating with the chamber's cosmic frequency. I understand now. Through Harmonia's transcendent awareness, Ben perceived reality at its most fundamental level, not as separate dimensions or distinct forces but as expressions of a single unified field. Temporarily divided into apparent separation for reality to function coherently. The cosmic reset wasn't meant to replace this division but to recalibrate its parameters before breakdown occurred. More importantly, he understood Eclipse's perspective with complete clarity. The cosmic entity had witnessed previous reset attempts fail because they lacked proper integration. His desire for unilateral control came not from ego but from genuine concern for multiversal stability. Eclipse, Ben spoke, Harmonia's harmonic voice carrying across multiple frequencies simultaneously. I see your purpose now. But there's another way. Quote, the cosmic entity stared in evident amazement at Ben's transformed state. The harmonic integrator, fully manifested. Impossible. Not impossible, Ben corrected gently. Simply requiring the right catalyst, beings who embody different perspectives but share unified purpose. The celestial regulator reached critical alignment, its components locking into final configuration as cosmic energy flooded the chamber. The reset sequence had begun, reality itself holding its breath at the threshold of fundamental recalibration. There's no time for theoretical alternatives, Eclipse insisted. Moving toward the regulator's control interface. The sequence must be directed immediately. Not directed, Ben countered, Harmonia's form glowing with intensifying purpose. Harmonized. With those words, Ben extended Harmonia's energy field to encompass his companions. Julie, Ester, Shar, and Gwen found themselves connected to his consciousness, not merged but synchronized. Their unique perspectives maintained while achieving perfect communication. Oh, Gwen breathed, her anodite heritage allowing her to comprehend the harmonic field. This is what the convergence was meant to be. Through their synchronized connection, Ben extended the harmonic field toward Eclipse and his 7 assistants. The cosmic entity initially resisted, millennia of solitary responsibility, making him reflexively reject shared consciousness. But as the regulator approached final activation, he recognized the pattern Harmonia established, the very synchronization protocol the Cosmosapiens had originally designed. The original intent, Eclipse whispered, ancient memory resurfacing through Harmonia's harmonic influence. Balanced perspective through unified diversity. With reluctant wonder, Eclipse accepted the harmonic connection, bringing his accumulated cosmic knowledge into the synchronized field. His 7 assistants followed, each contributing their specialized understanding to the greater whole. As the celestial regulator reached full activation, 13 beings stood connected through Harmonia's integration field, each maintaining individual perspective while achieving perfect communication. The reset sequence initiated not through unilateral direction but through harmonized contribution, each cosmic constant receiving calibration parameters from those best attuned to its fundamental nature. Reality itself responded to their synchronized intent. The chamber filled with blinding light as universal constants recalibrated throughout all connected dimensions simultaneously. Fundamental forces adjusted their parameters with microscopic precision, correcting accumulated distortions while maintaining essential cosmic structure. The process lasted an instant and an eternity, time itself temporarily suspended as reality rewrote its basic operating principles. Through Harmonia's consciousness, Ben witnessed the entire multiverse breathing in perfect rhythm. Countless dimensions aligning their boundaries with renewed clarity. When the reset completed, the chamber gradually returned to normal perception. The cosmic pillars dimmed to sustainable energy levels while the celestial regulator entered dormant state, its purpose fulfilled until the next convergence cycle millennia hence. Eclipse stood motionless, his shadowy form subtly altered by the experience. 17 convergence cycles, he murmured. 17 attempts to accomplish alone what was always meant for harmony. You preserved cosmic knowledge when no one else could, Ben acknowledged. Harmonia's form still maintaining connection between all participants. Without your persistence, the reset might never have been possible. The cosmic entity studied each of them in turn. Ancient cynicism giving way to something approaching hope. Perhaps the Cosmosapiens had greater wisdom than I credited. Unified diversity creates stability impossible through singular vision alone. As the harmonic field began to dissipate, each participant returning to individual consciousness, Eclipse approached Ben directly. The celestial Omnitrix has fulfilled its primary function, but its secondary purpose remains active. Secondary purpose? Ben questioned. Maintaining harmonic balance between convergence events, Eclipse explained. The device was designed to evolve beyond mere transformation, becoming a conscious regulator of cosmic equilibrium. Ben looked down at the Omnitrix symbol on Harmonia's chest, understanding flowing through his expanded awareness. It's becoming sentient. Eclipse nodded. A necessary evolution. The universe requires continuous minor adjustments between major convergences. The celestial Omnitrix was designed to develop independent regulatory consciousness over time. Which means what, exactly? Julie asked, the harmonic field allowing her direct participation in the conversation despite returning to individual awareness. Ben Tennyson's consciousness will gradually integrate with the Omnitrix's evolving awareness, Eclipse answered. Not replacement but synthesis, creating a hybrid entity capable of perceiving and maintaining cosmic balance. The implications settled over the group with profound weight. This wasn't merely another transformation or power upgrade, it represented a fundamental evolution of Ben's very being. Is there an alternative? Gwen asked, concern evident in her voice. I could remove the celestial components, Eclipse offered. Return the Omnitrix to its original configuration. But cosmic balance would again depend solely on convergence events, with accelerating degradation between resets. Ben remained silent, Harmonia's enhanced perception allowing him to fully comprehend the choice before him. Removing the celestial components would restore his normal life but leave the universe vulnerable to increasing instability. Accepting the synthesis meant gradually evolving beyond conventional humanity while preserving multiversal balance. As the harmonic field continued to fade, Ben made his decision. The Omnitrix chose me for a reason. If this synthesis is necessary for cosmic balance, I accept the responsibility. Eclipse studied him with newfound respect. The transition will occur gradually over many years. Your essential nature will remain, though progressively enhanced by cosmic awareness. He Omnitrix symbol pulsed once in acknowledgement, accepting Ben's conscious choice to embrace its evolution. The transformation timed out, returning Ben to human form, though subtle changes remained visible to those attuned to cosmic energy. His eyes occasionally flickered with harmonic patterns, while the transformed Omnitrix now appeared permanently integrated with his biological systems rather than merely attached. So what happens now? Ben asked, feeling simultaneously exhausted and energized by the convergence experience. The universe continues, Eclipse answered simply. With improved stability and balance. My collection team will return the Nexus keys to their respective points for the next convergence cycle. And you? Ester inquired. Eclipse's shadowy form seemed to lighten slightly. I find myself reconsidering my role. Perhaps isolation has limited my effectiveness as cosmic guardian. Cooperation demonstrated unexpected benefits. You could work with the plumbers, Ben suggested. Help establish protocols for monitoring cosmic stability between convergences. For a moment, Eclipse appeared genuinely taken aback by the proposal. Then his starry eyes crinkled with something approaching amusement. A cosmic entity serving alongside mortal peacekeepers. Unprecedented. Most effective solutions often are, Shar noted pragmatically. Eclipse considered the possibility with evident intrigue. I will contemplate this proposal. The next convergence lies millennia in the future. Perhaps new approaches merit exploration in the interim. With those words, his form began to dissolve into shadow. Before vanishing completely, he addressed Ben one final time. The synthesis proceeds according to your choices, Tennyson. Remember that your humanity remains your great saint strength in navigating cosmic awareness. After Eclipse departed, his collection team following in respectful silence, the chamber's impossible dimensions gradually normalized. The cosmic pillars are seated into dormancy while the celestial regulator disappeared entirely, returning to whatever dimensional pocket awaited it until the next convergence cycle. Well, Ben said after a moment of stunned silence. That was definitely not how I expected today to go. Understatement of the cosmic millennium, Gwen replied, the tension breaking as everyone laughed with relieved exhaustion. As they prepared to depart the chamber, Ben found himself confronted with a different kind of convergence. Julie, Esther, and Shar gathering around him with expressions suggesting unfinished personal business. So, Julie began carefully. Cosmic synthesis aside, we should probably discuss the other elephant in the interdimensional room. Which is? Ben asked, though he suspected he already knew. The emotional resonance patterns established during harmonic integration, Shar stated with characteristic directness. They revealed significant interpersonal attachment matrices between specific participants. Esther smiled at Shar's technical description. She means we all felt what you feel for each of us. And what we feel for you. Oh, Ben managed, feeling his face flush. That, through the harmonic field, every participant had experienced complete emotional transparency, including Ben's complicated feelings for the three women who had accompanied him through the cosmic crisis. His admiration for Julie's resourcefulness and their shared history. His fascination with Esther's passionate determination and inherent warmth. His respect for Shar's tactical brilliance and unexpected depth behind her pragmatic exterior. And most complicatingly, their reciprocal feelings for him. I should give you some privacy, Gwen suggested tactfully, already moving toward the exit. Actually, Julie called, stopping her. We could use your perspective. This isn't exactly a conventional situation. Gwen hesitated, then rejoined the group with a supportive smile. When has anything involving Ben ever been conventional? Ben ran a hand through his hair, the celestial Omnitrix pulsing gently against his wrist as if encouraging honesty. Look, what we all felt during the harmonic integration was real. I care about each of you in different but equally meaningful ways. The synthesis with the Omnitrix complicates potential relationships, Shar observed, her practical nature addressing the unavoidable reality. Your evolution toward cosmic awareness introduces significant variables. But that's precisely why connection matters more, not less, Esther countered. Maintaining your humanity through meaning. Full relationships seems essential to balanced synthesis. Julie nodded agreement. The harmonic field showed us that emotional bonds strengthen cosmic balance rather than compromising it. That's why He original convergence design required diverse perspectives unified by shared purpose. Ben looked between them, amazed by their acceptance of a situation most would find impossibly complex. So what exactly are you suggesting? An adaptive relationship structure, Shar proposed with the same tactical precision she applied to everything. Flexible parameters acknowledging your progressive cosmic evolution while maintaining emotional authenticity with each participant. She means we figure it out together, Julie translated with a smile. Day by day, supporting each other through whatever comes next. As equals, Esther emphasized, each bringing different strengths to a shared journey. Ben felt something settle within him, a recognition that the cosmic balance he'd helped restore externally required personal balance as well. These three women, each representing different aspects of his life and values, created a harmony he hadn't realized he needed. I'd like that, he said simply. Genuine emotion replacing cosmic awareness in his voice. Though I have absolutely no idea how it works practically. Fortunately, Gwen interjected with a supportive smile, figuring out the impasse. BLE seems to be your collective specialty. As they finally exited the chamber, ascending toward the mountain's surface, Ben felt the celestial Omnitrix pulse against his skin, not with cosmic urgency, but with something approaching contentment. The synthesis had begun, but his humanity remained firmly anchored through connections that transcended conventional understanding. 1 year later, the roofed-top garden of Ben's new home offered spectacular views of both Bellwood and the night sky beyond. Terraformed with Kraho-adapted plants that thrived in the specialized environment Esther had designed. It served as both peaceful retreat and impromptu meeting space for the uniquely connected household. Ben stood at the edge, gazing upward as stars revealed patterns invisible to conventional human perception. The celestial Omnitrix had evolved significantly over the past year, its interface now projecting directly into his consciousness rather than requiring physical interaction. The 13 transformations remained accessible, but his natural form had gradually incorporated subtle elements from each cosmic alien. Cosmic surveillance or stargazing? Julie asked, joining him with 2 steaming mugs of hot chocolate. Ship flowed happily around her shoulders, his form occasionally extending sensors to analyze the stellar patterns Ben observed. A bit of both, Ben admitted, accepting the offered drink gratefully. Eclipse reported unusual quantum fluctuations in the Andromeda galaxy. Nothing concerning, just interesting. Julie studied his eyes, which now permanently contained faint harmonic patterns visible in certain light. The synthesis is progressing faster than expected, isn't it? Ben nodded, appreciating her perceptiveness. Azimuth says it's because I'm not fighting the integration. Apparently most previous bearers tried to maintain rigid separation between themselves and the Omnitrix consciousness. Whereas you've always treated it as part of yourself, Julie noted with understanding. For better or worse, Ben agreed with a self-deprecating smile. The rooftop door opened as Esther emerged, carrying architectural plans for the underground thermal regulation system. She was designing for Bellwood's growing alien district. Her position as liaison between human government and non-terrestrial residents had expanded significantly since the convergence, her diplomacy skills proving invaluable in the subtly altered post-reset reality. Shar's shuttle just entered atmosphere, she announced, setting aside her work to join them at the railing. Her diplomatic mission on to Ravana apparently concluded early. Successfully, Ben inquired, knowing how important the trade negotiations had been to her. Esther grinned. According to her message, optimal outcome Aki. Ved through superior tactical positioning and unexpected emotional intelligence. She's getting better at the emotional intelligence part, Julie observed with affection. Remember how she used to document our relationship dynamics in spreadsheets? She still does, Ben laughed. But now she includes variables for unpredictable but valuable spontaneity and intuitive connection significance. Their laughter carried across the rooftop garden, merging with the gentle burbling of the thermal spring Esther had engineered at its center. The home they'd created together defied conventional relationship structures while honoring each individual's needs, private spaces blending with common areas designed for their unique family configuration. A streak of light across the sky announced Shar's arrival, her plumber shuttle executing a perfect landing sequence on the designated pad. Minutes later, she emerged onto the rooftop, her feline features displaying the subtle signs of pleasure they'd learned to recognize despite her composed exterior. Negotiations concluded 37 hours ahead of projected timeline, she reported, accepting the welcoming embrace each offered in turn. The ambassador expressed particular appreciation for what he termed refreshingly direct communication methods. They're finally recognizing your diplomatic talents, Ben noted proudly. Logical recognition of demonstrated competence. Shar replied, though her pleased expression belied the modest assessment. As they settled around the thermal spring, conversation flowing easily between mission reports and personal updates. Ben felt the balanced harmony they'd established together. Each relationship had developed according to its own natural rhythm. Julie's deep understanding of his human core, Ester R's passionate appreciation for his adventurous spirit, Shar's precise alignment with his strategic mind. The celestial Omnitrix pulsed gently against his skin, its evolving consciousness finding stability through these connections. The synthesis progressed smoothly precisely because Ben remained firmly anchored to his humanity while embracing cosmic awareness, balanced through unified diversity, just as the convergence had demonstrated. Later that evening, as artificial lights dimmed throughout Bellwood, the four gathered in the observation dome Ben had installed for tracking celestial phenomena. A holographic display projected cosmic coordinates Eclipse had transmitted from his new position within the restructured Plumber organization, where he served as advisor on interdimensional stability. The multiversal boundaries have fully stabilized, Ben explained, interpreting data that would have been incomprehensible to him a year earlier. The reset achieved optimal recalibration of all 13 cosmic constants. Translation. We saved reality, Julie simplified with a smile. Technically accurate if imprecise, Shar acknowledged, her own smile growing more natural with practice. Ester leaned against Ben's shoulder, her natural thermal energy harmonizing with the cosmic warmth that now radiated subtly from his enhanced physiology. Not bad for an improvised team of cosmic amateurs. We were never really amateurs. Ben reflected, arm extending comfortably around her. The celestial Omnitrix chose specifically, not randomly. Each of us represented something essential for proper convergence. And for what comes after, Julie added meaningfully, her hand finding his. Shar, becoming gradually more comfortable with physical affection, completed their circle. Statistical anal. YSIS confirms optimal configuration achieved through current relationship parameters. She means we're good together, Ben translated with a fond smile. Accurate summary, Shar confirmed, her amber eyes warm with genuine emotion. Above them, stars shimmered with patterns only Ben could fully perceive, cosmic energy flowing in perfect balance through countless dimensions. The universe continued its endless journey, slightly altered but fundamentally preserved through their shared effort. The celestial Omnitrix pulsed once more against Ben's skin, not with urgent warning or cosmic power, but with something approaching contentment. Whatever challenges awaited, whatever his evolution might eventually bring, the balance he'd found both within himself and among those he loved would guide him through the cosmic journey ahead. Universal harmony, it seemed, began at home. ___. The end. Thank you for watching this video. Please be sure to subscribe to our channel and like this video.